Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Come on, man. What's going on?
For people who don't know, you and I have been friends for, God, more than 10 years.
Yeah.
How many years
so
has it been?
I think it's
14
I think
years?
it's the year we got here, which is 2012.
Yeah.
When we moved from England.
We met in Hawaii on the beach
know.
with our kids.
Okay, so what's your memory? I was just thinking about that because I have a very particular memory of that.
My
meeting.
memory was that my children and your children were playing on the beach.
Exactly.
That's how we met. Mm-hmm. It was just they were like digging in sand. They were real little. They were the same age. And then we just said hi.
Yeah, but I remember that. Okay, I have a slightly different memory.
Okay, what's your...
Which is like that's exactly right about the kids.
Yeah?
2 girls for you, 2 boys for me, and your wife was there first before.
Yes. I think
And-
I was in the gym, and then I
And
came
I
out of
just
the gym.
remember, remember I've just moved from England, and it's a whole different world and a different culture, and I just remember you walking down the beach, and I remember I've never seen anyone like this before, just like it was just an amazing cultural moment, and then
You'd never seen anyone
just
walk
like
on the
way,
beach?
No, just the way you were, just the way. I remember thinking, who's this guy? I remember I'd never heard of you, and then I was explaining to people I'd met. Oh, Joe, is it Joe Rogan? You met Joe Rogan. It was just an amazing thing. And then the other thing that makes me laugh doing this is that we then did the podcast
Yes.
at some point around then.
This is before you had any aspirations of running for governor or anything
Exactly.
like that. It was
This
a long time ago.
I just moved. I was teaching at Stanford, just having a very normal kind of
Yeah.
low-key life, and I really remember doing the podcast, not knowing what a podcast was. I literally didn't know. So we came in, and my experience was I'd been in England. I'd worked in business, run a restaurant or 2, that kind of thing. But most recently, I'd been in politics and government. And so I'd in the media. I was aware of all of that. And so, it wasn't like I was completely naive, but I didn't know what a podcast was. And I literally thought it was like a radio show or something. I remember coming in, this was back in LA, and we sat down and we were chatting for a few minutes. And I literally was thinking, when's the next guest coming? Like, this seems to be going on a really long time. And it's like 10 minutes and then 15. Wow, this is a long time. Normally you get like 10, 15 minutes maximum.
Right.
Half an hour. What? An hour? 3 hours. I couldn't believe it.
Well, back then,
I really didn't know.
no one knew what a podcast was.
Right.
So what year was it that Steve was on?
It was on episode 509, I was July 3rd of 2014.
2014?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay.
2014, episode 109?
509, so we're already...
509?
Yeah.
509. So we've had 2,000 podcasts since then.
Incredible.
And wow.
The other
12
thing,
years. That's
the other
12
thing I
years
have to
ago.
tell
That's
you-
crazy.
It's crazy. The other thing, just remembering, I'd never really done anything public. I was like a behind-the-scenes guy
Right.
in politics and government. And I'd just come out of that, and I was very kind of cautious about everything. And you were just talking like you do, which, again, I didn't really know. And you were, I remember thinking, God, this is like, we're talking about sex, and you were cursed. I was like, wow, what is this? And like, this is so different to anything I've ever encountered before. But there we are.
Yeah, nobody was listening back then. It was nice. You could get away with so much more. You could just talk and not worry about it. And also,
Well, I
social
don't
media
think
was
much
not
has
as big of a...
changed. I don't think you worry about it when you're
No.
talking.
Well, I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's
Yeah.
the key to my success.
Right.
This is like, don't listen to anybody, what anybody has to say about you. Just keep
Yeah.
moving. Keep moving and don't pay attention.
I think that's obviously works.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that are crippled by other people's opinions. I think there's a genuine benefit to having a bunch of other people's opinions of you, and you get to see feedback, but there's just way too many bad faith actors on the internet. There's way too many people that have the least charitable takes on everybody, the worst the worst like public narration, like public narratives that they want to promote about anyone or anything, about any subject. There's far too many people like that, and it's a poison well.
Yeah.
It's like if you went to a restaurant and you knew that 20% of their food would literally fucking kill you. Would you ever eat there? No. Well, that's like Twitter.
Yeah.
20% of the people there are fucking poisonous. They're like a coral
I know,
snake.
but it's so funny because like now I've just been. So when we met, I was just like kind of a regular citizen, teaching at Stanford, whatever. Then I started a business. Then I got more public. I went to Fox, hosted a show. Then I'm a candidate, and as that's happened, you get more prominent, and so you look at these comments. And I never know whether to look, but the thing that I really just makes me laugh now, it's like I'm always tempted to do it, and I never do it. Like the really idiotic, just pure abuse. Like, I don't know, like I put something out there, and now there's a lot more of this. I'm a candidate. It's like, go back to England, you fucking cunt, or you bald, whatever. And like, I always want to write, good point. Because it's just so tempting, and I never have. Maybe I should.
Well, there's a lot of
because it just makes me laugh.
There's a lot of sad, angry people out there that are just lashing out, and unfortunately, those are overly represented online because those are the type of people that have the time to make comments. But then you also have to take into consideration whenever you're involved in anything political, as you obviously are, because you're running for governor of California. There's a lot of the people that are engaging with your content that are not real people. They are
you mean actual bots?
100%.
Okay, that part I never have in my mind.
You don't?
No, I should. But I. It's a good point. Keep going.
Oh, it's a tremendous amount. It's not a small amount.
Right.
It's a huge amount.
Does Elon?
There's nothing you can do about it. It was a point of contention when he was buying Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was buying Twitter, Twitter was alleging that there was only 5%. 5% of Twitter was bots. But see if you can find that article again. There's a former FBI, he did something with digital intelligence, and he did a forensic analysis of Twitter, and he said it's probably 80%.
80.
80.
Jeez.
80. So it's a bunch of bots yelling at you, and by bots, okay, some of them I think now, and this is at the time, so this is 2022. When did he buy Twitter? 2023, 2024? 2024?
I think older than, was it
24?
I don't remember.
I think it was like
Somewhere in 23, 24, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So back then, AI was not as much of an issue, right? Like AI is, you can automate anything now. So the claim that 80% of Twitter originates from a 2022 assessment by cybersecurity expert Dan Woods, while official company filings have historically claimed fake accounts represent under 5%. Independent estimates and security specialists suggest real figures are higher, though an exact 80% total remains heavily debated. It's very debated, but if you read the article, he goes over, it's very meticulous. Like the way he's describing what 80, it's not like he's pulling it out of his ass. He did it. So what Twitter did to come up with 5% was they just grabbed a random 100 tweets. But also they're trying to sell it for fucking billions of dollars.
Exactly. They
What did
want
sell
you
it
to
for?
think it's all.
What was it, like 40 billion?
Yeah.
Something crazy, wasn't it?
I don't remember the numbers.
Wasn't it $40 billion? Fucking insane amount of money for this, what is now just chaos, It's funny. So there's that. And so this guy's saying 80%. So again, this is a few years ago, so you're dealing with actual humans who are doing it. So you have these state-sponsored groups there's these bot farms. And what these bot farms are, I don't know if you've ever seen them, but people have like gone inside and filmed them, like whistleblowers. And what they literally have is like rows and rows of Android phones that are all connected to like
phones without
keyboards.
people?
Yes.
Okay.
And they'll type one thing, and that one thing gets tweeted by hundreds and hundreds of phones. And there's many of these places. And this was back before you could get AI to automate things for you. Now you could do a thing where you can essentially start a campaign online. Like, say, Steve Hilton's a cunt. Pass it on. And literally, they will. You could hire a company, and this company has bots that will go out there and promote that Steve Hilton is a cunt. And they will put it everywhere. They'll hire people. They'll pay people. This is another thing.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of like really bad actors, really bad faith actors on Twitter that are paid to post things. And these people have been called out many times by other people that are independent journalists that say, isn't it crazy that all these people use the same
language
verbiage
at the same time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're getting paid. They're getting paid quite a bit of money. Israel pays people. They've been pretty open about it, you know, and they were saying that we have to win the digital war against what they call it, the woke Reich, which is hilarious. So there's that. So you have to, like, when you're engaging, like, I know real people on Twitter. I know real people that I read their posts, and I know there's real independent journalists, but there's a tremendous amount of just utter horseshit.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I have no time for
No,
utter horseshit.
I mean, I look at it sort of because, you know, like you're running around, you're doing all these things for the campaign, whatever. So I don't have too much time. It's the one I look at, but there's all the other, you know, there's Instagram and all the rest, and I don't even look at those. But on X, you know, for a few hours, you know, if you add it up, probably half an hour in the morning, maybe half an hour in the middle of the day, half an hour at the end of the day, and you look at it then, and you just find out what's going on. I think it's pretty good for news, like
It's
things that
very
are
good for
happening.
news. It's the
like
best thing
live,
in the world
you know.
for news.
So that's why I check in with
Yeah.
them. You kind of see what's happening.
I do that. I go to the front page, like what's going on, what are the news stories.
Yeah.
But as soon as it gets to people's opinions on things, like blah blah blah, not listening.
I just think it's fun. Honestly, the abuse stuff, it just makes me laugh. I think it's so
Does it?
kind of...
That's
yeah.
good. Well, you've always been really good digitally. Like, for people that don't know, like I said, Steve and I have known each other for a long time. I mean, we're good friends. Like, we've taken our families to
Actual
Disneyland.
friends. I know.
Yeah, like we've slept over each other's homes. This is, again, way before you were running for governor. I know you, and you know me, and you know my family. We know each other. And you've always had no phone. You were always impossible to reach. I used to have to get a hold of your wife to get a hold of you.
Exactly.
It was hilarious. For a while, I don't even know if you've had a fucking email for a while.
I didn't have email. I always had email.
Yeah, but you never had anything on you to check that email. So, like,
Exactly.
So I
That's
remember
right.
that one time in San
Oh,
Diego
don't
where
tell me. I always said, it's fine. Nothing ever goes wrong. Are you going to now...
One time it went wrong. Your wife was so mad at you because she couldn't get a hold of you. You fucking vanished. But this was the thing, is like, you were well aware that it is a toxic element in your life, and it's distracting. It keeps you from being present. It keeps you from being in the moment. And it's very hard to have discipline and just put it down. And I'm really good at it, but then I'm not. And then
Yeah.
some days I'm not. And I just find myself on the
It's
toilet
true.
for 20 minutes watching murder videos. Because my Instagram, it's actually really good right now.
Well, what you mean, like true crime stuff?
Oh, horrible things. So one of my best friends, Tom Segura, he and I have had this tradition over the last few years of sending each other the worst fucking shit that we find online to each other, just to freak each other out first thing in the morning. Like, first thing in the morning, I wake up and Tom sent me, like, the other day I sent him, these two guys were trying to rob an ATM machine and the guy's pulling on it, and they wrapped a chain around it, and they had a car.
It sounds like a movie,
that was
like
pulling.
some ridiculous scene in
Yeah,
a movie.
yeah. So the car was pulling the ATM machine out, and the guy got trapped under it and dragged with sparks and blood. I mean, it's fucking horrific. And I mean, I've seen so many people get executed, hundreds. Instagram is terrible
Wow.
at removing that stuff. I don't know if I spend far less time on X because X is so much opinions. It's so much of it is just text. Instagram, for me, it's a lot of it is very interesting. Like, I find interesting historical facts, interesting scientific discoveries, cool stuff. There's a lot of
It
cool
seems to be
stuff.
just generally when I'm around, you know, I'm on planes a lot, and like all the time, and you see people. So just watching people, Instagram seems to be the thing. You know, I'm not watching what they're looking at, but you can see the logo, and you can see that seems to be what people are most consuming.
Yes.
On the Instagram.
I think it's probably the biggest one. Maybe TikTok's probably the biggest.
Yeah, and TikTok.
I don't know what's the biggest, but they're both pretty big, and it's just mindless.
TikTok's probably younger.
Yeah, I think, but there's a lot of older people on TikTok too now. It's just very addictive. TikTok, when you open it up, it immediately starts playing you something.
Yeah.
That's different. You know, like Instagram, it opens the page and you go, so what's going on? And you have to like put in a little effort. TikTok's like, gotcha. Like immediately, as soon as you open up the app, it's like, gotcha, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. Next thing you know, an hour's gone by and you've wasted it.
I remember when I first read about it, like years ago, TikTok. I think maybe even it wasn't called TikTok. It was ByteDance were doing it, and it was music video. There's something to do with music, and that's how it started.
It started with, wasn't
you could
it?
make your own video to music or something to do with music was the focus.
Well, the original TikTok was a bunch of people dancing.
Yeah,
they
that's
were
right. It was
TikTok
to
dancing.
do exactly.
Yeah, they were dancing and lip syncing.
And I remember reading, and they were talking about how viral it's gotten, and this thing is going to take over. So I was like, oh yeah, that can't be, that's not going to happen. And then now look where we are. Amazing.
Well, what's really interesting is China, where TikTok originated. They have a completely different TikTok.
Exactly.
Their TikTok is curated to like martial arts demonstrations,
That's right.
scientific
It's all
discoveries. It's all athletic
music,
achievements,
kids doing
music,
playing the violin, all that stuff.
exactly. It's all like enriching.
It shows you can do that.
Yeah, and kids aren't even allowed on it after 10 p.m. So like you have to put in your age when you do it, and at 10 p.m. it bricks you. Go to work, bitch. Go to sleep. Get up in the morning, and now
TikTok does that, or I can't remember. I've read that.
the
but,
Chinese version of TikTok. So the Chinese
and the
version
government
of TikTok
makes them do that, or they
yeah,
do.
yeah, they're smart. Like it's not good to censor people, but if you want to have a society that's not captured by horseshit,
Yes.
that's the way to do it.
So I remember back. So I'm Hungarian. My parents are Hungarian. When I was a kid, I was born in England, but we'd go back to Hungary. And this thing I always remember being really pissed off about when I was a kid. Not that the TV, this was before anything, it was just TV. So all you had was television. But on Mondays in Hungary, there was no television because they wanted people to do other stuff.
Just on Monday?
Yeah, it was something, maybe I'm getting this wrong. It was like, go out, talk to each other, do stuff, sports, whatever. It was just, and it was communist regime, so they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But you think, they were thinking
Look,
about
I prefer freedom, but
Well, that's what I think about all of this is so hard. Like, even when you look at, like, just today, there's the this massive trial, this Meta trial going on.
What's going on?
Meta, it's a lawsuit. Today's the first day of the trial.
What is the trial about?
They're suing Meta for $1.4 trillion.
trillion.
Trillion with a T.
Whoa.
I mean, they're not going to get that, but that's the claim. It was just today.
Claims it addicted children to social media. Huh.
And they're doing this through lawsuits. And I'm just so torn over this because I've got a very strong point of view about all of this and kids.
Yes.
But there's something about this that doesn't feel right in terms of just going after these big platforms. Because in the end, I think it's the phones. There'll be something else. If it's not Meta, it'll be another thing.
Yes.
I mean, I wrote about this year, 2015. So soon after we did that show, I was probably working on it at the time. I published a book called More Human, Designing a World Where People Come First. And the kind of main thing in the book was everything's too big and bureaucratic and centralized, and we've got to get back to the human scale. So it's mainly about other kinds of policy areas. But I did write about this thing in kids and tech. And I said at the time, kids under 16, I said then, shouldn't have smartphones. You can give them other phones to stay in touch, but smartphones, bad idea. It's the screens. And so I see all this going on, and I think, yeah, have a go at Meta or whatever, WhatsApp or YouTube, I think they're coming for as well.
They're coming for YouTube. That's interesting.
Definitely. Yeah, they are. There's already been a couple. And
This episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. Man, let's talk about Blue Chew. They're already the #1 brand for better sex. But what they're doing with Blue Chew Gold is completely next level. Gold is a 4-in-1 formula designed to make your bedroom noisy again. Obviously, it gets you hard, like you're back in your 20s, and everything is handled 100% online. But Gold boosts your arousal, getting you ready for sex physically and mentally. Plus, it dissolves under your tongue for faster absorption, so you get that spontaneous energy back. Look at the stats. Gold is 3 times stronger, 5 times faster, and 8 times longer lasting than old school methods. Blue Chew Gold is the real deal. Right now, buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold and get the 3rd free with my code Rogan. You will also receive free overnight shipping. Head over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. Check it out. This ad and the products being advertised are intended for a United States audience. Well, that's like coming for television, though. It's like
I know, it's
user-created television.
I
you
think
know?
it's the screens, though.
Right, but the screen's the problem, right? It's not the content creators.
That's what I'm
And then if they
getting at.
are coming after YouTube, then they're kind of coming after me, right? Because like I'm making people addicted to listening to people talk.
Exactly.
How are you going to say that that's bad? The 4 states seek substantial financial penalties. Reports differ on the precise figure, with recent reportings describing the state's position as roughly $200 billion, while Meta has cited a possible exposure as high as $1.4 trillion. The ultimate penalty, if Meta loses, would be determined by the court. They also want court-ordered changes to Facebook and Instagram, potentially including parental verification for teen accounts, changes to recommendation algorithms characterized as dopamine manipulating, removing or limiting like counts, infinite scroll, autoplay, appearance-altering filters, multiple accounts, and disappearing content such as stories. What? People love that.
I know. So they're trying to really micromanage.
Yeah, but disappearing
These-
content such as stories is kind of interesting sometimes. Like my friend Adam Greentree,
Yeah.
he's a bow hunter, and he goes hunting, and his Instagram stories like depict each day of these hunts, and it's really fascinating because he takes these crazy adventures where he goes deep into the Colorado Rockies by himself for like 28 days, and he's like camping out in the snow, and it's cool. It's cool to watch. So it's not all negative. So our AI sponsor, Perplexity, who is we've pulled this information from, is saying that a loss could mean not only a very large financial judgment, but also mandated product redesigns affecting how minors and potentially all users experience Instagram and Facebook. The problem is, as soon as the government gets involved in mandating product redesigns,
Yes.
we're fucked.
I agree.
Because they're
This is
not
what-
going to make it good for
I
us.
totally agree.
There's
That's
not
what
a
I'm
chance
saying.
in hell. Yeah.
It's just
manipulating. They're getting involved, and
Yeah.
they'll probably get them to give them some money.
And
you
then,
know?
when you start getting it, and you could just imagine these bureaucrats sitting around micromanaging. I mean, they've got too much of that already.
100%. Yeah, one of the things that
So I get it's a problem, but this isn't the way to go.
No. You know, there's a relaunch of MySpace that is
Really?
yes, and so MySpace is apparently attempting to relaunch and be algorithm free, and this is their idea. They're thinking the algorithms are designed to keep you engaged and get you dependent and get you hooked. And they're doing it by making you outraged for the most part, right? And what they want to say is, look, why don't you just find what you want to find, and we'll have it on here.
Okay.
Which is probably a lot better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my feed would be all things only that I'm interested in,
Yeah.
not things that piss me off.
Well, that was the big change they made to the
Yes.
news feed versus what you were doing.
And incredibly like potent in its
Yeah.
impact on children in particular, and me. I'm
Yeah.
a child. I'm a little kid. I get hooked. We all get hooked. You get hooked on nonsense and just paying attention to stupid things, and it just eats time.
Yeah.
And that's the commodity. The commodity is
Yes.
your attention.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got with kids, I hear actually all the time, it's not discussed like a political issue, like we talk about gas prices, whatever. But then I've done a lot of events last, whatever, year and a half, like really a lot. Thousands and thousands of people sometimes, big events, small round tables. You hear a lot of people, and the first set of things they talk to you about are what you might, because they think you're a candidate, this is politics, let's talk about taxes and gas prices and the kinds of things that you think are sort of assumed to be part of the political conversation. But then when you raise something like that, like the kids and the screens, that totally changes the conversation. And suddenly they're like intense and kind of really kind of angry in a totally different way.
In what way?
It's like, what are we supposed to do? It's like, for parents, it's like it's the screens and the social media and then the video games, and now it's AI and they're talking to AI, and then the AI is doing the homework. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Well, I'm glad you brought up video games, because video games are far more addictive than social media.
Yes.
Video games are insanely addictive, and No one's trying to get rid of them.
Exactly.
It's because these things can change the way people think. They can
Yeah.
change public opinion, and they can move people in certain directions. I attribute it to the rise of the democratic socialists. I attribute it to the rise. I mean, it's a lot of this manipulation. These ideas, like people are really getting, maybe being socialist is cool.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
all coming out of social media, 100%. It's
Yeah.
not natural
Yeah.
that people are sitting around, reading Marx and going, "What a great idea! Like, let's implement this." They're not doing that.
Yes.
Very few of these quote-unquote Marxists that you find on social media are even aware of the
What it's actually
consequences,
about.
the
Yeah.
historical consequences
Yeah.
of these strategies and what it ultimately leads to, which is like checkers. It's like real simple. Like, you're going to have a military that controls everything you do. As soon
Yes.
as you give up everything to the state, well, the state has the guns and you have nothing. And,
Exactly.
And then they tell you what to
Exactly.
do.
They tell you what to
it
do.
It sucks. It doesn't mean that that's the way to do it because capitalism is brutal. Yeah, capitalism needs some fucking guardrails. That's
For
what it
sure,
is.
everything needs to be. But you've got no, I totally agree. Like I always joke about it, but it's kind of true. Is like Mamdani with the state-run grocery stores. Like we had that when I was a kid. I literally went to them in Hungary. It was a communist state. There was only state-run grocery stores. I saw them. There's one like at the end of the block where my grandma lived, and I would go there in the morning to get the whatever it was, and it's just terrible. Like it's really.
I'm very torn on social safety nets. I think we should have them because I think a person who's down on their luck where things go wrong, like a woman who has children and her husband dies and she doesn't have an income and now, oh my God, I have to feed these children. Yeah, we should have social safety nets. I also think social safety nets encourage people to rely on them and have zero ambition. I think both those things are true.
Well, that's why I'm so. I've always been against. I can see the argument for, but I've always been against this universal basic income type thing. There's an argument for it where it's like quite a low level, and the original guy that I think that used to argue for that was on the right, Milton Friedman.
Yes.
And Charles Murray, I think, also
Yeah.
argued for it, coming from the right. But their version of it was to replace everything else. So you wouldn't have any other benefits. You wouldn't have any other government services.
Right, no
basically.
Medicaid, no nothing.
Just
Yeah.
an amount of money based from, it's very simple, less bureaucratic, and that's it. But this is not what's being argued
No,
now.
I think that would actually probably be like financially more efficient because you would radically reduce the amount of government.
Exactly, in the bureaucracy.
Yes, radically reduce the amount of people that have control over other people.
Exactly.
And you would say, listen, we're going to cut out the middleman and just give the
Yes,
money to people.
yes.
That's not a bad idea.
So I got, and it was very funny in that, like you say these things before you ever imagine being a candidate, and they come back and it gets sort of twisted.
Part of the problem with welfare is, and this is going to sound completely like I'm contradicting myself, but it's not enough money. You barely live.
Well, this is what I was it's exactly what I was saying. So was it in that book? I think in that book, the 2015 book, More Human, I had this idea based on what you're talking about, which is actually, for a lot of people, things like the minimum wage, for example, is just, you can't live on it, especially like in California now.
Right.
But in a lot of places, it's so low, the costs are so high, can't live on it. And there's a lot of people working really hard, like not lazy on the couch playing video, seriously hard-working people, often two jobs, who can't live on what they make. It's like really wrong, I think. If you
Right.
work so hard, you should be able to live on it. So I had this idea, which was the business-friendly living wage. And the idea was you increase the minimum wage to a living wage, which is calculated.
What do you think that would be?
Well, it's by area. It's different everywhere. You know, in California, and a lot of places, it'd be incredibly high. You know, 30, 40, a lot of really high level.
$30 or $40 an hour?
Well, because you've got now in certain counties in California, more than, I think it goes up the whole time, the official government level for low income is $100,000 a year. Low income.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy, because costs are so
When I
high.
was a kid, if you made $100,000, you were killing it.
I know.
Like
this
my
is the
dad
thing.
makes $100,000. Like, whoa.
Okay, so when in my campaign, I had this, like one of my first things was no state income tax under $100,000. I call it the working class tax. A lot of people nationally said, that's so high. Why are you rewarding rich people? Actually, the feedback we got in the primary was that's too low. And there's a ton of people in California making, I don't know, 120, that sort of thing, who can barely live. because everything's so expensive. If you're in LA or somewhere expensive. So we've raised it to 150 tax-free. But going back to the living wage thing, that's obviously really tough for a business to pay that kind of level.
Yeah.
I ran a restaurant. You know, you'd be killed by that kind of high thing. But at the same time as you've got businesses paying people for full-time work that they can't live on, the businesses are also paying taxes, payroll tax, all this stuff. They're paying to the government. And then the government is taking it and handing it back to the workers in benefits and welfare. So my thing was, why don't you just cut out the middleman and have the businesses pay the workers, not the government? And then the net effect for business is about the same. Well, that would be the goal. So they're paying their workers more, but
Is
they're
it
not
the
paying
same
taxes.
amount? Like, are they literally? That doesn't make any sense. Because, like, what is minimum wage in California right now?
Well, it's just gone up. It depends where you're looking. So
$15?
No, 16 and a bit, and then for fast food it's 20, and they wanted it for.
That was a
Healthcare
recent
workers,
thing, though,
25.
right? And a lot of people pushed back against that, and they wound up cutting a lot of jobs.
Yeah, that went through. So it's $20 for fast food workers.
And then it immediately cut a bunch of jobs.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
put in automation and.
I feel like there's got to be some jobs that are entry-level jobs for kids.
Yes, and that's
the
really
problem is
important.
You're
They used to
not
be.
supposed to make a living off of that. You're
Yeah, it's
supposed
your
to be a
first
kid
step.
that's learning how to work. You show up on time. You know, you get your paycheck. You realize the taxes get cut out of it. You're like, what?
Exactly.
All that stuff. Like, it's good for kids to have. But once you get past entry-level jobs, then, okay, like if someone's a landscaper or someone's like doing, this is a job. You work 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Paying someone $15 an hour to work 40 hours a week is kind of brutal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's horrible.
Exactly.
You barely can get by.
But because we've built all of this bureaucracy,
Right.
certainly in all I really know is California, and just the level of the government in all its forms is so big, you're paying all these taxes, and the taxes are coming out in all these hidden ways. Gas taxes, housing taxes that they don't call a housing tax, but it's there. Everywhere you look, they've got these things that they're charging you,
Right.
but which makes everything more expensive. And what do you get for it? This bloated bureaucratic government that's not actually helping any. It's
Right.
actually making it harder to run a business, harder to build anything. And so I think that's, and this is I used to call it this doom loop, that the Democrats who are in charge, even they get it, right? They get that people are really struggling. People can't afford stuff. So what's their response? Oh, we got to, give them more welfare benefit. We got to put taxes up in order to get more money to redistribute. But that just makes everything more expensive. They never think about, well, why don't we just cut the costs? Why don't we just reduce the amount that we're taking so that people can have more?
Yeah, but then they would have to cut out their slush fund because that's
There you
really
go.
what it is. It's a
That's
big ass slush fund. One of the things that we pointed out was that the number of people that moving to California and even living in California, it shrank, but government doubled.
Yes. There's so many insane facts like that.
Right,
So
where they say, "Oh, we've created so many jobs." Like, really? Have you? Have you
Oh, it's
really
such
created
bullshit. Don't get
an
me
actual job, or have you figured out another way to increase the government and make more taxes work for whatever the
Exactly.
fuck NGO you have or nonprofit you have, or like someone pointed out that there's this guy. This got these really funny reels on Instagram and how much things cost versus like what you could get for. And, he was talking about like some new thing they're doing for the convention center. It's like a $5 billion renovation. And he was like listing all the
Yes.
different things. And one of them that you could give like every single person on Skid Row some fucking preposterous amount of money. And you just realize like, oh, they don't want to fix any of this. Like the people that are working for the homeless, he was talking about the average salary was like $800,000.
There was just one last week. This woman runs a homeless nonprofit, $1.6 million a year salary. Homeless nonprofit.
nonprofit.
Exactly. That's
And
the
she's killing it.
Exactly. There's another
She's
one.
a millionaire.
There's another one yesterday. He's like, I don't know, some business like, it's a nonprofit, $2.6 million a year. It's just
And here's the most important thing. the homelessness only got worse.
Exactly.
Like if in the private sector, imagine if you were a CEO of a company that was just losing insane amounts of money and never completing its tasks, never doing the thing that it set out to do.
This is the main thing. I think it's like the more I look at it, the more insane it is. And everyone just looks at it and no one's ever pointed this stuff out. Like they all just, the government just makes everything so expensive in California. Everyone says, oh, it's so expensive. What are we going to do? We'd better give them more welfare benefits because
we better have a billionaire wealth tax.
Billionaire wealth tax.
Or steal money from the richest people without addressing fraud and waste at all.
But by the way, the richest people already pay about half the income tax, the top 1%.
Yes.
So
there's a small number of people in California alone that are responsible for an extraordinary amount of the tax base.
Yeah,
just a very small number of people, and you're scaring them away. And
they don't have that mentality of cutting costs like every
because
normal
they
business
get
does.
paid no matter what.
Exactly.
This is what I said during COVID. I said I think the mayor should get paid dependent upon the GDP of the city.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
like if the city, like if you lose 70% of the restaurants, which like Los Angeles did during,
yes,
Garcetti should have lost 70% of his paycheck. You should have, if you lose like 70% of businesses,
yes,
you should lose 70% of your income. And I guarantee you they would be more friendly to business if that happened.
But exactly. And they don't care. And this is what happens. I think when you've got this one party rule thing that's been going on for 16 years now, they've run everything. They don't care because they think they'll be in power forever. And it just doesn't matter.
And it seems like they will. Like, look what they did to Spencer Pratt.
I know, it's crazy.
And what they did to Spencer Pratt was so transparent that even Democrats admit there's something weird about the fact that Nithya Raman all of a sudden got way more votes than Karen Bass, way more in the mail-ins. And people voted for an increase in taxes.
I know. It's just...
That doesn't make any sense. Nobody votes for an increase in taxes.
And actually, in recent years in California, anything like that has been voted down.
Right.
And just in the last few years.
And it was only the mail-in ballots that turned it.
Well, look, this is the... I always say...
They're fucking dirty.
People bring it up the whole time. And I say, yeah, whatever. This is they've made it legal, right? This is not illegal. And the scam is so bad. We've looked into a few of these. We were just, through the year, we're following some of this money. It's just everywhere you look. So cannabis, right? They legalized cannabis, Prop 64 in California. And there's a tax. And the tax is part of selling it to the public was we're going to have the tax and it's going to pay for substance abuse prevention. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So then so we looked into it. $350 million of that goes to this nonprofit, with some nice sounding name about health. And then you actually track the money. They give out these little grants, million each, million here, 750,000 there, to 500 or so other nonprofits. And then you look at what they do. Voter registration, ballot harvesting, all of this shit. I mean, this is what they do.
Stealing money.
And we're paying for it. And there's so many examples. We've just found a few of them. I mean, remember, they've doubled the budget of California, more than doubled in the last 10 years. These are the numbers. This year, the budget is just over $350 billion, the total budget. 10 years ago, it was 170. And everything's worse.
Crazy.
It's so bad. My other favorite example is that, there's so many. Every day you learn about these crazy things. Prisons, right, they've been shutting the prisons, which I totally disagree with, because whatever, that's a different story. But in the time they basically cut the prison population, it's not quite half, but nearly. The budget has doubled. I mean, it's just...
Well, I mean,
think, what is
it's
going
so
on?
transparent. Like, look what they did in Los Angeles with the fire relief money.
Yes. Yeah, fire aid. That was disgusting. So disgusting. You had people, good-hearted people, wanting to help their own money. That's supposed to be charity.
Yes.
And it's going into this political slush fund.
It went all of it into nonprofits.
Yeah.
And not just one nonprofit, like 200 different nonprofits.
Exactly.
Spencer Pratt laid it all out, like how they did it and what they do. And no money went to anybody who lost their home.
None. And
which should be illegal. That's not
that they've
fire aid.
legalized all of this. That's the point. And so I always say, yeah, we've got this system, but there's only one answer in advance of being able to get in power and do something about it is we just got to get every vote. We've got to get every vote. And I know people look at this race and say, well, you're never going to win. It's hopeless. I don't think that's true. I think that actually people are really pissed off. If you give them a sense that we can really, this is not a hopeless cause, and I think we're showing that. We've just got to, I mean, I've got this guy running against me who's just a complete joke. I mean,
Who is it?
He's called Javier Becerra. He was Biden's health secretary. He was, I mean, I want to say one thing before I say the most important thing about him. But since we've just been having a go at him, telling the truth about what he did as Biden's health secretary, his score's been coming down with not that much effort from us. And we don't have money. We're a scrappy startup, right? They've got this big machine, the government unions, they just, roll on. He's like the first poll that came out in the race was just after the primary. It's over. What's the point? 61-36. He had 61, I had 36. The next one is like 55. This was just the other week. 55, I think I had 37. There's one we just heard about where the gap's under 10%. So no one wants this to go on in California. There's a majority who want to get rid of this. But it's just been this sense that it's impossible and we just have to put up with it or leave. And I think we got to, if we change that attitude, I think people are going to vote this regime out. It's so bad. Anyway, the thing.
Well, we've seen the map, the electoral map that they put out from 2020 versus 2024, and the difference being you look at all the counties that went red, that used to be blue, where people are freaked out. The problem is these high population urban areas where people live in these liberal bubbles, which is Los Angeles is the craziest version of that.
And Los Angeles County is 23% of the vote in all of California.
Let's put this into Perplexity. Ask Perplexity how many people in Los Angeles are on SSRIs.
Okay. I didn't think that's where you were going.
I would like to know.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of people that are they're medicated, and it's part of what helps them agree to this nonsense is that they're in this zombie catatonic state from antidepressants and antipsychotics and anti this and anti that and anxiety medication, and they're fucking cloudy. They don't see things, and they're surrounded by this echo chamber of people that only agree with them. No reliable public count of current SSRI users, specifically in Los Angeles, but a reasonable rough estimate for Los Angeles County is on the order of 500,000 to 700,000 adults, not a precise head count. Now, how many people are in Los Angeles?
There's 10 million in the county.
Okay, I think that's way low. I bet it's 10 times that. I bet it's everyone. I think, no, all bullshit aside, I bet there's a few million. Los Angeles County has roughly 7.8 to 8 million adults. If about 11 to 17% take antidepressants, roughly 60 to 70% of antidepressant users take an SSRI. The implied range is 530 to 950, so maybe a million. I think it's probably a few million. I know a lot of people that are on them, man. A lot. I think it's like more represented in Los Angeles. And there's also this idea that you need a medication because you have an imbalance. You need medication.
This over-medication, that's really bad.
Well, also the
Just
imbalance
generally.
thing has been disproven.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not what it is. And then there's a reality of your physical being, okay? If you live a sedentary lifestyle, you eat terrible food, your physical body is going to feel like shit, and you're not going to be happy. That's just how it works as a human being.
Totally right.
That's it.
It's like if you're feeling down or pissed off, like literally do some exercise.
My friend
like
Hassan Ahmad, who's you'll see him tonight at the Mothership, hilarious comedian. He has a great bit about like the people that are in these commercials that are playing basketball. They take the medication, and now they're playing basketball and drinking water and having fun. He goes, Yeah, that's the actual solution to depression.
Yes.
It's not take
No,
the
it's
antidepressant.
totally right.
It's fucking do something athletic.
Yes.
Get active.
100%.
Drink
Go for a
water.
walk.
Have a community that you enjoy
Yeah,
hanging out with. Like, that's what keeps people from being depressed.
Exactly.
And they've been sold this bill of goods that you have a chemical imbalance in your brain. Well, that narrative
completely
was
agree.
never supported by science and has
Yeah.
now been completely dismissed.
Yeah.
That's not true.
But we're just doing it still. I mean, funnily enough, that was what I one of the chapters in that book, 2015 book, More Human, was about health. And it was all that. That's what I wrote about, which is, this is crazy. We've got, and in fact, when I was in 10 Downing Street, I was the senior advisor to the Prime Minister, and you're getting, and mainly I focused on domestic policy. That's what I focused on. And you're there, you're at, in 10 Downing Street, you can have meetings with, kind of everyone will come in and have a meeting. And I was really focused. You got the National Health Service, which is what the left want here, the Medicare, the single payer healthcare, whatever. That's what there is in the UK. And it's funded by the government, by taxpayers, 100%. And so it's part of the budget, which is one of the problems. It's always competing for money against everything else. And so there's a real reason to try and get the cost down, because you're funding it out of the budget for everything else. And so health promotion is, or should be, a really big part of it. And I wanted to really do much more on that you should actually use the National Health Service to try and make people healthy instead of all this sickness stuff. So I had all these meetings trying to understand, the Royal College of this, the Royal College of that, all the cancer people, they all came in. It was so hilarious after kind of months of these meetings of like, what do we need to do to make people healthy? It's the simple, basic things in the end. What you just said. It's
Nutrition.
like diet, nutrition, exactly.
Yeah.
Eat healthy, take
healthy.
exercise, sleep enough,
Drink a lot of water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of those things. Like all these geniuses of science and whatever. And I said, honestly, it's so basic. But then, I was just seeing today, there's this awful story about the mother who killed the children.
Ugh.
Awful story. The mother, and she had really bad depression, after postpartum depression, and was asking for help and all this. And they just kept giving her this medication. And she was saying, I think there are texts to her mother saying, this new medication they've got me on is really making me feel even more anxiety, and I don't know what's going on. Help, help, help. And they showed all the medication she was on in the run up to this. It's shocking, like so shocking, just the amount of stuff they're loading her up with that must have
100%.
sent her over the edge.
100%. I mean,
terrible.
look, when you look at the commercials for these
Yeah.
things, and then you see the possible side effects, like
I
who
know.
in their right mind would take something for depression, which has side effects, which causes suicidal ideation? What? I
That's
thought you were
crazy.
curing
Exactly.
depression. Your side effect is I might want to kill myself? Like, it's like, this is a cure for depression too. Blow your brains out. No more depression.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cartel. It's a cartel in the United States. I mean, it is a sanctioned tax. It's publicly traded. It's a fucking cartel, and they buy off politicians and they pass through
this
regulations.
is the thing I see, not just on this, but on everything. Again, it's just an eye opener. I kind of suspected it, but when you see just how cynical it is, this kind of corrupt, I don't know what you want to call, machine politics. This, I don't know, in Sacramento, where they literally buy what they want. They buy the legislators that pass the bills that help their interest, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's why nothing really changes, and no one knows what's going on. No one follows it. There's all these laws they pass that end up with things happening in the real world that a normal person would say, how the fuck did that happen?
Exactly.
Well, 3 years ago, someone put in a bill that was probably written by the lobbyist for whoever it was, that even the legislator who put their name on it probably never read it. And then suddenly it's the law and all these bad things happen. And that's what's going on.
Now, what could you do differently if you get in office? Like, how much of this crazy, entangled machine can you
Yeah.
unwind?
not
Let's
all
imagine.
of it. Yeah, not
Let's
all
imagine
of it. No, I've thought about it.
people wake up, they go, Steve Hilton's making a lot of sense. Let's vote him in. And then even the liberals like secretly run out and vote you in. It's got to be too big to rig. Because
Yes.
that's the thing.
Yes,
because
exactly.
the mail-in ballots.
By the way, can you believe? I know we'll get into it, but did you see Kamala Harris the other day?
No.
She
But-
was at some conference or whatever, doing her sort of maybe I'll run for president again.
Yeah, good luck.
Jeez, I know.
The last one was pretty successful for only spending $1.4 billion.
I know. She's very
She lost
very good
every single
candidate.
swing state. Like,
It's very funny. I sort of talk about it a lot because my guy Becerra, he was asked the same question that she was asked. Do you remember when she went on The View?
right.
And it was like,
What would you do
do
different?
different? She says, oh, nothing comes to mind. Really? You haven't thought? So he was asked, Becerra, my opponent, and the guy, he was on CNN, the guy says, look, it's obvious things aren't going well. To be fair, and the interviewer said, look, we got the highest, he listed a few of the things, highest unemployment rate in America, which, by the way, no one can believe, but we have the highest unemployment rate of all 50 states, highest poverty rate, cost of living is a nightmare. You know, what would you have done differently? He says, well, it can't be that bad because people are still coming to Disneyland and the beaches. That's what he said. And then he said, well, so no policy changes? No. Anyway, Kamala was at this thing the other day and she starts talking about the election and how, and I don't know if she wasn't aware that Trump and MAGA had this slogan that was a massive part of their thing, too big to rig. So she starts saying it as if it was a completely new thing. She said it the other day. You know, the thing that we have to do is make sure we get a really, you know, we've got to get everybody, well, you know, to coin a phrase, we have to make it too big to rig. Like she said it.
No way.
She said it.
No way.
Yeah.
So she's alleging that it was rigged the last
I
time?
have no idea what she's talking about.
Like, I don't know what amount of election fraud there is, but it's not zero.
It's not zero.
It's never been zero. And the real weird one for me was how many more votes Biden got in 2020 than any other president ever. We have a lot of work to do because, you know, these folks are cheating. They're trying to rig the system.
Yeah.
They're trying to draw maps, all of it. What? You mean stuff that the Democrats have already done?
Exactly. It's so hilarious.
This is crazy.
Now, look,
We have to make it too big to rig. We have to turn out in big numbers to jump all over these obstacles they're trying to throw our way. We have to make it too big to rig. What are you saying? Like, how are they cheating? Like,
I don't know what
how
she's
is she
talking.
alleging they're cheating?
I
Look at her
can't-
face. The idea that that's the best they can do is so insane. It's so wild. It's so wild. And it's because if you want to run for politician, they will, if you don't follow their narrative and their plan to a fucking T, they're going to come for you. And they're going to destroy you. And it's usually some creepy sexual thing, or they're going to find someone who says that you did something to them in college or high school or whatever it is. They'll come up with as many things and throw them your way, as many things as they can find, and they get rid of you. And they get rid of all of them.
Well, we'll see. I mean, lucky they don't think I've got any chance of winning. I think that's why they haven't done that. But just on that, though, it's interesting. It makes me think this whole system, this corrupt thing that I've encountered, and I don't want to lose your question about what I would do, because I've thought about that a lot. But it's sort of amazing, but not amazing. I knew it was like this, but to see it is something else.
The scale of it.
Yes. So even things you might not imagine, like, okay, a couple of, so there's the Chamber of Commerce, right? It's called Cal Chamber in California, and it's all the big businesses. And like, running a business in California is an absolute nightmare. That's why they're all leaving. That's why Elon left. That's why so many companies leave.
They lost In and Out.
And every day there's a new one that's announced. And then every day I meet business owners, big, small, medium, who say, we're just hanging on to see if you can make it. And if you don't, we're out. Right? Every day. Chief Executive Magazine has an annual survey of business conditions. I think it was out in April. California, 50th out of 50 states. Okay? And I think it's been like that for 12, 13 years. So it's like a disaster what's going on. The Becerra who's running against
50th out of 50 states
for business
businesses.
climate.
So Alaska's better.
Every state
Hawaii's
in America is better.
North
just
Dakota,
doing
South Dakota, Florida, Tennessee.
All right, so
Every
you would
single
think
one.
that when you've got a choice between two people, right, one of whom explicitly says, "I'm not going to change anything," that's Becerra, and me, who's someone with business. Most of my career has been in business. When you do the ballot, you're allowed 3 words to describe yourself. I actually wanted to do it fairly because I've done a bunch of different things, and so I went through every year since I left Oxford, 1990. It's 36 years. And the majority of my career has been in business. And most of those years running my own businesses. So I put small business owner. That's the 3 words, small business owner. And like in a choice between that, you would think the California Chamber of Commerce, which represents business, would obviously want the guy who's pro-business instead of the guy who's going to keep up this... Anyway, we have
There's the money's still there for now, and they're getting that money.
Well, these
This
lobbyists.
is what it
It's
is.
this kind of.
Yes.
It's all of that crowd, right? And we have these endorsement meetings, and then they pick him. They endorse the other guy, and then they say, "We think." Their statement was so full of shit. It was like, "Oh, it's time for unifying blah blah," some completely bullshit political thing. No, of course, because I went in there and I said we got to change direction. The policies are hurting business. Whatever. I just said what I think, and they went for him because all they actually care about is the power, and they think he's going to win, and so they want to be in with him.
Yeah.
And then the other one that was like that was in a way even more shocking, was the police. So the police, whatever it's called, PORAC, the Police Officers Association, something, their union. Same kind of thing. You go to them and you try and get their endorsement. By the way, I said at the beginning of this whole process, it's a waste of time, because they will only care about their thing, that they want to get more money for whatever it is, and so I don't want to give them that because that's wrong, and so they won't endorse me. I'm just telling you. Sure enough, we have this meeting, and I'm completely on the side of the law and order thing. It's gone crazy, the defund the police, the insanity of how they deal with crime. We got to reverse all that, prison closures, all these things. And he's not said anything about that. He'll just more of the same. Insanity. They endorse him. And then they told us why. Because he promised to deliver on the one thing they really cared about, which is some bill that would increase their pensions.
Why don't you agree to that, Bill?
Because the pension, one of the reasons that the taxes are so high, and the everything is like, for example, you look at schools. Everywhere I go, parents are saying, "What's going on? We pay the highest taxes anywhere, like state income tax, property tax, all these taxes, and then we have to pay." The schools are asking us to pay for like basic supplies, like paper, books, like cleaning materials, and the lottery money is supposed to go to schools as well. And they're saying, what is going on? Parents are really furious about it. One of the reasons is because of the way they've done the pensions for the teachers. You know, you want people to have good retirement, that's true, but like I think it's about a fifth of the money before it's even spent in the schools goes to the pensions. It's
I'm
a
torn.
really, really bad situation.
I'm torn because I think they deserve pensions,
They do.
particularly the police. And I think
I
I'd like
agree,
to
but,
know
like,
what percentage of the budget. I mean, think about listen. Let's talk about money that's gone to places where it vanished, like the homeless. $24 billion.
Yeah, at least.
At least. And even though they've tried to get an audit of it, Newsom vetoed that. Stopped them
He
from getting
vetoed it, exactly.
Yeah, twice, right?
And in LA, there was a parallel in LA. There was a lawsuit that ended up with the judge demanding a similar audit, and the estimate was just for LA, it was $2 billion, and Karen Bass vetoed the audit in LA.
Let's imagine that $2 billion instead went to fund the police.
Yes.
Better training, better conditions, better morale, better pensions, higher quality of people that you're hiring.
Totally agree with that. We need to massively increase the numbers of police.
Right. Now, imagine what an impact that would have on the encampments, on enforcing these laws. Like, you already have laws. They're just not enforcing them.
100%.
You're not supposed to
The
camp
homeless
on the street.
encampments are illegal.
They're illegal.
That's
Yeah.
all you're saying. My first point on my plan is enforce the law. They're illegal.
Well, imagine what it's done to real estate in downtown. You know,
It was the downtown real estate group, business group that filed that lawsuit that I was talking about for LA. Exactly.
Los Angeles is the only place in the country that has a useless downtown.
It's amazing.
One of the
I know.
biggest cities in the and forgive me if you have a great business in downtown and you love the funky aspect of being. There's wonderful restaurants in
Yes.
downtown. I've traveled to them, but it's fucking sketchy. I took
Oh,
my kids
Joe.
once to get donuts in downtown, and we were walking on the street, and like every step of the way, you're like, is this guy gonna attack us? Is that guy crazy?
I literally
Is
had
this
it the
guy
other night.
mental?
We got in from somewhere. We're staying downtown, right by City Hall, and got in quite late. I wanted something to eat. The hotel didn't have anything, whatever, and so I just walk around, trying to find. It's a Saturday night. It's not super late. It's like 8-9 p.m. It's just unbelievable.
Zombies.
Like zombies. The stink of like shit and
Feces,
piss.
yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting.
Shit and piss everywhere,
And
it's
the-
a public health problem.
And you walk around and you think, how
Typhoid
is this
fever.
possible? It's the second city of America. We're the richest country in the world. And we're the richest state. I mean, you're being ripped off like that, and this is what we end up with.
Let's talk about just.
But I
Skid
agree with
Row.
you on the police. LAPD is saying that by the time the Olympics is 2 years away, they will have half the number of officers that they should have. Half. And yet our taxes are the highest in the country.
That's
they've
crazy.
they've just increased the taxes in LA. Local sales tax gone up.
What I was getting to was imagine Skid Row. So Skid Row is roughly 50-something blocks, right?
Yeah.
So 50 blocks where no one wants to buy a building. 50 blocks where no one wants to put up a business. No one wants to lease a building for 10 years if you've got encampments right in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? You can't even clean them up. You can't tell them to move. You can't ask them to not shit on your porch.
It's just unbelievable.
There's nothing you could do. So just think about all the tax revenue that's being lost, all the business being lost, and all of those areas
Yeah.
in downtown that are just completely unsafe and contaminated.
It's just unbelievable. The last time I went, I've been a few times. We went with this. They've sort of destroyed the word non-profit now. I don't even want to say that. Like an actual charity, like a really nice,
A real one.
a real one, who've done beautiful work. It started off they were trying to save the dogs, and what they're doing with the dogs is just unbelievable. Using the dogs to test their drugs.
They
and
use the
just-
dogs
it's
to
just-
make sure the drugs don't have
it's just
fentanyl.
disgusting. Anyway, so they started off with that. It was just a woman who's driving by and saw a dog in distress. This was a few years ago, and around that has built this beautiful charity. It's going there. We were there on a Sunday. They're giving out clothes and stuff, trying to help people, and she knows all the people. But this time, for some reason, I was even more infuriated than before, because it's like if you're the mayor of LA or the governor of California, and this is going on, what are you doing? How can you do anything else
Right.
before cleaning this up? It's so.
Well, it was there when they
disgraceful.
got there, and it's sort of accepted that Skid Row in particular is always going
It's
to be there.
so bad.
It's been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I did Fear Factor in downtown LA. We filmed a lot of our episodes in downtown LA because there was a lot of abandoned buildings
Mm-hmm.
because of Skid Row. That's a big part of it. But also, Los Angeles lost a lot of its manufacturing. It just kind of like evaporated for whatever reasons. So one time I was driving home and I took the wrong turn. And I was like, what the fuck
I know.
is this?
It's
And
amazing,
it was
isn't
just
it?
an entire street filled with people in cardboard boxes and tents and garbage everywhere, just piles everywhere. I was like, this is great. And this was like 2004.
Yeah.
2005 maybe.
Yeah.
It was bad back then. It's just tucked away into this old place. And
Yeah.
we looked at it. There's a documentary about the Cecil Hotel because there was a woman who drowned in one of the tanks, and apparently they thought that she was murdered. But then when they got the surveillance footage, it seems like she had a schizophrenic episode. She stopped taking her medication, and she jumped into the tank and drowned in there. So it was this whole thing of what the Cecil Hotel used to be like, and that these people that come from other countries, they go, oh, we're going to rent this hotel in downtown L.A. Must be nice. It's a historic hotel. It's been around since 1835 or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this should be great. And then you get there, you're like, holy fuck. You're in the middle of Skid Row. And it was part of the documentary was explaining how bad this area
Yeah.
got.
It's so bad, and it's also there's something about the just the squalor, the filth, the total disrespect.
They have medieval diseases that are emerging.
Yeah,
that
we
we
were
haven't
seeing
seen in
some
like
of the-
100 years.
It's unbelievable, and I just think that it's amazing to me. It's truly amazing that this just rolls on, and like nothing happens.
Right, it's not
And
a state and national
yes, a
emergency.
scandal of the highest proportion. You know,
But no one goes there.
Right.
That's the thing. As long as it stays contained, as this was what this documentary was alleging, is that the practice of moving people to Skid Row started a long time ago. And what
Yeah.
it was is to clean up Los Angeles and Beverly Hills. They'd find
Yes.
vagrants, they'd grab them, bring them to downtown, drop them
yes,
off there.
no, that's how it got started.
and then they
But
kept
it's-
them there.
but it's
They
not as if
literally
there's a-
contained them there.
Yeah, but not anymore.
Not
I mean,
anymore.
you
They don't
see it
have to.
everywhere.
Well, they don't have to because now they know this is the place where you can go and you can get drugs
Yes.
and you can get food.
And you
they'll-
get drugs from the government. I mean, that's the point.
The government gives them drugs?
Yes, they do. From the what's called, that's harm reduction. They call it.
What do they
There's
give
a-
them? What drugs?
They give they opioids. They give them opioids as a substitute for fentanyl to less
So,
dangerous.
what kind of opioids? Are
I don't
they
know
giving them
exactly.
like methadone, or which is not really technically an opiate?
I can't remember.
But
We
it's
went
like they
there.
give them that
They wouldn't
to-
let us in. Actually, we tried to film inside. There's a guy just did get inside, Christopher Rufo from Manhattan Institute, and he got in. He made a film about the crack pipes they're giving out or whatever.
They give out crack pipes.
Yeah, he did a little. I mean, I don't know if that was a. He made a. I don't know.
How
I
sweet
didn't
of
see it
them.
myself.
Caring for those people.
But it's just ridiculous. You've got, but it's everywhere. It's not just Skid. That's the thing that's so, like this. I mean, I'm on the road the whole time. I see the whole state, like probably not many people do, and just there's something about the degradation, the squalor in so many places. Not everywhere, of course. It's beautiful. I love California. It's
Like
amazing.
Beverly Hills is gorgeous still. There's still a lot
Yeah,
of
but you've
places.
but
there's
even
a
there-
whole lot more breaking and entering.
Exactly.
A whole lot more home invasions.
The
whole
home
lot more
invasion is a
crime.
huge thing. I mean, that's why one of the things, again, we're just trying to make a difference here. You've got one particular thing with these home invasions. They're all wearing masks now. It's like a really big part, which that didn't used to be the case. And so we've been working on a plan that if you get enhancements for your sentencing just for covering yourself up, because we've got to try and they're just like there's no interest in trying to.
Not only
stop
that, there
this stuff.
seems to be an interest in letting people out of jail who've committed violent crimes, which I would only do if I wanted to destroy a city.
It's crazy. What
If
they're
you
doing.
wanted to destroy
Yeah.
a city, you would do it exactly the way they're doing it.
And then the
you
other
would
thing is
hire
the
the
people
most
who-
progressive DAs who are willing to let people out no matter what, and then you use a bunch of words like racism, systemic racism, whatever, discrimination.
That's
This is
what
the
they-
reason why.
equity and all-
This is the reason why Mike has robbed 99 people over the last 12 years.
Well, the one thing that's good news though is the new DA is pretty good. Nathan.
Oh, that's
Hochman.
good.
He's good. He's good. I supported him. I saw him the other night, so he's really doing a good job. It shows that you can make a change. Actually,
Right.
I mean, look, he's up against a whole system and the political system, which is still captured by that kind of insane ideology. And so much of what you see going wrong in California is exactly that, is ideology over anything that's practical.
Yes. Yeah,
And-
and it's also you have to adhere to the narrative,
Yes.
or
exactly.
you will be punished. And so everyone's scared. So they say a bunch of things that they,
Yeah.
they think make sense.
There was a really unbelievable example of it. There was a Democrat state legislator, I think somewhere like Santa Cruz, somewhere like that. This is a couple of years ago, who voted the wrong way on a bill that one of the government unions was pushing. I can't remember the details, but it was that it offended maybe it was the university teachers, something like that. A Democrat, and then they funded the campaign of the Republican just to teach them not to step out of line. It's amazing. Just the
Well, there's a bunch of Republicans that they like to call rhinos. Republican in name only. There's a lot of those folks they're basically Trojan horses. I think we have a real problem in this country where there's only two parties. I think it's crazy. There's so many people, like me, for instance, that agree with a lot of the things that the left pushes and agree with many of the things that the right pushes, but some of the things the right pushes are fucking ridiculous. And some of the things that the left pushes are fucking ridiculous, but you have two choices.
Yeah.
And you're defined by the worst members of each party. You're
Yeah,
defined
no, I
by
see all that.
the dumbest MAGA people versus the fucking the Portland people. It's like these are your options. You have to completely ridiculous people who believe in non-binary folk, and then you've people that are think this is a Christian nation and we should kick out all the Muslims. Like
So it's interesting because I thought about this when. Not that I didn't think about it that much, but there are a few people, because I think for what I'm about to say it doesn't work, but a few people say, oh, you should run as an independent. You shouldn't run as a Republican.
Never win.
Yeah, and I am independent-minded, and I've never run for office. I'm not part of this machine. I'll just say what I think, especially because no one thinks I'm going to win. I might as well just go for it and say what I think. But you're exactly right. You won't win.
Yeah,
you won't win. There's just no way.
Like when Bobby Kennedy was telling me that he was going to run as an independent, I was like, sheesh.
Yeah, but like Michael Schellenberger.
Like, you fucking can't win.
Do you know Michael Schellenberger?
Sure.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's great.
And he ran for governor twice as an independent.
Yeah.
And I remember, I tried to help. I put him on my
I
show.
think he knew he wasn't going to win.
Do you think that was the...
Yeah. I mean, he's it's good for his career.
Oh, okay.
And it gives him an opportunity to speak his mind. He says a lot of very, very interesting and intelligent things.
Yes, he's great.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at exposing a lot of horse shit.
Yeah.
He's really good at that, and he's very meticulous. He's a good journalist.
No, I'm really doing it because I don't laugh. I really believe that I can win, for real.
Well, you might be able to, because California's that fucked. California's that fucked that I think there's a lot of look. We lived in a very liberal area when I lived in California. Everyone was very liberal, and it was normal. It was normal liberal, like what it used to mean. Like you believed in gay rights, you believed in women's rights, you believed in civil rights, normal stuff. You believed in a social safety net, normal stuff. Like that was what it used to mean to be a liberal.
Exactly.
Bill Clinton, liberal.
That's right.
From like the 90s. If you listen to Bill Clinton talk today, he sounds like he's running for a Republican.
No, but and on immigration, have you seen these clips that people like?
He's more MAGA. Like Hillary Clinton was the most MAGA.
All right. She literally, there's one the other day where she was, that I hadn't seen before, which was so, it's like, we can't have all these illegal immigrants and we have to, and it was about the healthcare. We can't be giving free healthcare to illegal immigrants because we cannot have incentives for more illegal immigrants to come.
Republican talking point.
Amazing.
Crazy. But it just shows you it's all bullshit. It's not real. Like this idea that if you're on the left, you're supporting science. You're supporting civil rights. You're supporting...
Yeah.
They're telling you that to get your
like
vote
those
so
signs.
they can steal money. That's all it is. That's as soon as you accept that, you realize like, oh, both parties are completely full of shit. They just fuck you in different ways.
There's definitely one thing I've noticed. There's in Sacramento, in the legislature, I think they're just, I don't know, either they don't believe it or they've just been beaten down, and so you've had this, they've just gone along with it. But actually now you've got a few Republicans in California, and they're friends of mine, and we're working together. You wouldn't have heard of any of people like Carl DeMaio, David Tangapar, Ali Macedo, the new leader in the assembly, really actually have got this. We're real kind of friends and allies in fighting back against the corruption. That's the big thing I think that you learn when is the interest groups, the big business, the big unions. They've just completely captured the government. And I think it's fair to say the Republicans have been part of that. But there's a group of us now who really don't buy it, and we're fighting back. I think we can make a big difference. If we get, if we can, they've got a 2/3 majority in the legislature. They call it a supermajority. It's been like that for more than 10 years. So they can do whatever they want, the Democrats. And the Republicans have been kind of irrelevant. If we can just, win a few more seats so they don't have a supermajority. And if I can get elected, and then we can start to chip away at it for sure.
I think it's important to not let either party have complete and total control.
That's exactly right.
And I don't
Exactly
think
right.
I don't think this is just the Democrats. I think if the Republicans were in the same position, we'd
It's
have
I agree.
another unique
I
set of
agree.
corruption and problems that would be similar,
Yeah.
and they'd be finding other ways to steal money.
I mean, this is the fundamental. 100% agree. I mean, that's what I say to Democrats, and we can see it in some of the numbers. I'm doing well with independents. We're getting Democrats come to my events, and one of the things I say is like, it's just not healthy to have one party running everything. And for the last 16 years, in California, they've had all the statewide elected positions, governor and the other ones, attorney general, whatever, 2/3 majority in both legislative chambers, every big city, every big county, the state Supreme Court, 6-1 Democrat appointees. They just rubber stamp whatever they want. And it's just not healthy. And it gets into this mentality of arrogance where they just feel they can do whatever they want and no one's ever going to, stop them.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
And again, if the Republicans were in the same position of
I agree
power,
with that.
you'd have another different set of problems that was probably very similar, because it's just how people operate when they have control.
Yeah.
When they have complete, it's just like if you have an authoritarian government.
Yes,
It's
that's exactly right.
Similar kind of a situation. You have no one's challenging your position of power, and you
Yeah.
get to do whatever you want to do. And then you have a bunch of people that funded your campaign and giving you a bunch of
Exactly.
money, and then they're helping you out with this and business deals to your uncle and this and that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
you see it on the
Republicans
right.
do the
You
same
saw it
shit.
just now in Hungary with Viktor Orban. So I know
Yes.
Hungary well because it's my family still live there. And funnily enough, it was 16 years he was in power. Same amount of time as the Democrats in California. And by the end, it was all exactly what you're talking about. Like, just unbelievable levels of corruption.
Yeah, and it's always if they have total control,
Yeah.
they're going to be corrupt. Especially if they don't have any oversight, if they can just get
Yeah.
away with it, like
Yeah.
this homeless thing where they've lost the $24 billion, and the governor
Yeah.
can say, "Nope, don't look into that." Stamp. You can veto that. How is that legal? How is it legal that you could veto something that
Yeah,
is
and actually the amazing thing about that is that it was even the Democrat supermajority that did that, right? So the process was the state auditor, it was a Republican legislator that asked the state auditor to look at it. So it's initiated by a Republican. State auditor publishes the report, 24 billion missing. The legislature as a whole, which is 2/3 Democrat run, said, we need a proper audit. It was these
Yes.
guys. It was the Democrats.
Yes, it was everyone.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because those Democrats weren't completely corrupt.
It's amazing.
You'd have to be completely corrupt to not look into that.
I know. It's amazing. And then the bullshit excuse that they come, it's not necessary because of,
It's not necessary to look at where
I know.
$24 billion went.
And
And,
then-
not just didn't work, but homelessness increased by a substantial margin.
Well, because the answer to the question is very obvious. I mean, when we say that term homeless industrial complex,
Yeah, it's
what
real.
is it? You look at it, it's basically got two parts to it. You got the non-profits, like we talked about, that just keep getting the money. They've actually made it illegal to solve the problem. So I'm not joking. It's illegal for state money to go to any of these organizations that require any kind of response from the homeless person. So you can't require addiction treatment, recovery, anything like that, job training, nothing. It's illegal. It's called housing first. So, obviously, when you've got 80%, and the fentanyl is a really big part of the
the idea
problem.
that it's a housing issue is so preposterous, too.
So you got the
so
non-profits, but then
preposterous.
the other part of it, which is where actually the bulk of the money's going, are these crony developers. There's a very small group of developers, house builders, that build these apartment units. They called it permanent supportive housing, shelter, and they're charging up to, a lowball estimate is about 600,000. There are some in LA in the Bay Area that are $900,000, $1 million per unit to build, right? I've got a friend that builds apartments in the Bay Area. He said without all the government bullshit that goes around it, the layers of nonsense that they put in if it's taxpayer money, the union contracts that you've got to use this kind of material, the environmental, all this stuff. you could build it for a quarter, like 250,000 per door, they call it. 4 times as much. That's where the money's going. And then you get the unit, whatever, they put the homeless person in there who's still addicted to fentanyl. And as I went, again, with a real charity in Venice, we went round, a guy who's a recovering addict, and 23 years clean, and he's actually trying to help people. He actually he rents Airbnbs, and he does group recovery, and they have a, recovery program they do together. He says, like, these guys that are getting the permanent supportive housing, it's like a second home because they're going back to the street to buy drugs, deal drugs, because they're addicts.
Yeah.
And you're not changing the behavior.
They're addicts and they're mentally ill. And so there's a massive influx of homeless people during the Reagan administration where they kind of like open the doors of the mental institution and say, well, we're not going to fund this anymore, which is, for public health and safety, that is a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah. But then the other thing about that, I completely agree, is that that's been incorporated, that idea that you can't have mental institutions, insane asylums. There's this kind of general sense that that's barbaric and you don't want people in these institutions and it's better to have them cared in the community. So that's incorporated into Medicaid. And so often with government, you've got to look at the money flows. And one of the things that's still there is this rule called IMD, Institutions of Mental Disease. And the IMD rule is that there's no reimbursement from federal Medicaid to any treatment that happens in a facility with more than 16 beds. It's a very specific limit, 16 beds, because it's all based on this philosophy of we don't want big mental institutions.
Okay.
So that means that there's no incentive to have modern, large-scale mental health care, because that's all these small things, because you don't get any money back if you're
I think
the state.
people are also rightly suspicious of the potential for a medical health industrial complex.
Definitely.
And then, think of how many people. Imagine if they could just, like, have you ever seen that video of there's a guy who gets pulled over and the cops on the spot tell him that he's been evaluated as being mentally unwell and he needs to come in? And the guy is completely calm and rational when he's talking to him. And he's like, well, make an appointment and I'll go and get evaluated. And he's like, no, we're going to bring you in. He's like, what are you saying? Well, you've been deemed unwell. He's like, by who? There's no ruling against me. It's really interesting. So apparently there's more to it. And this video went viral. Apparently there have been some videos of this guy where he posted online where he's acting kind of loony. I saw a couple of them. I was like, yeah, that's a little problematic. But could also be he's acting out on camera. I don't know if he's doing this in real life, like just because someone's doing it in videos. So like a lot of people act out in video just for attention, or maybe that's how he blows off steam, says wild shit like, we need to eat the earth, or I don't know what the fuck he's saying. So but the video is very disturbing because in that moment, if these police officers in Canada are supposed to be evaluating someone who doesn't have an official psych evaluation where he's been brought in and they just said, you have to be institutionalized. So that hasn't happened. And so they're pulling this guy over.
Terrible.
And based on his interaction with them, he is completely calm and rational. In fact, like charitably so, because they're saying something fucking totally preposterous.
Yeah.
And he's not yelling. He doesn't raise his voice. He's coherent. He's articulate. I want you to watch it because it's kind of crazy.
That's terrifying.
Jamie, I'm sure you could find it.
Yeah, I was trying to find the update though.
That's really terrifying.
But let's just look at the actual video itself, because the video itself is bizarre. Because without any context, and again, I think there is some context. There have been some videos where he acted nutty, and this guy might just be manic depressive, where he's capable of keeping it together, like to pretend he's normal when the cops are there, but then as soon as he's on his own, as no one's watching him, he goes insane. That is possible.
But what were they? Did they have any prior knowledge of him? What was that based on?
Someone had told them that he's off the rails, so they went in to go get him. But the thing is, shouldn't there be like some sort of an official psychiatric evaluation? Conservative influencer. He's a conservative influencer. Being held captive in Canadian...
I don't know if that's real or not. I just was trying to wait so I could get to the video here.
Okay, well, let's watch the video. Put your headphones on, because the video is kind of kooky.
And this is Dr. Emery. He's a resident psychiatrist,
Yeah.
senior resident. He's on a rotation with the CAR 87. We're part of a program that includes Vancouver Coastal Health and the Vancouver Police. Okay? And what we do is we go to people when there's different reasons that come up. Every case is a little different, and we go to people to see them where they are, especially if there's been issues with trying to find them and talk to them. So in your case, I think you were certified under the Mental Health Act just, I don't know how long ago, but like maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Were you aware of that? Dr. Taylor saw you in a cafe. She didn't certify you. I think you filmed part of it.
Okay.
And this is Dr. Emery. He's a and then she spoke with your family, got some more information, and
Okay.
you know, you're gonna have to turn that
So
off.
just one sec.
Yeah.
What the officer just told me is that you and I can set up a meeting and we can chat then. So why don't we do that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not turning the camera off. I have a legal right to keep the camera on. If you don't want to make the appointment now, we can do it at another time. But that's what the officer just asked that we do. So why don't we do that?
So I'm going to certify you under the Mental Health Act. We're going to bring you to hospital, do testing on you, and you're going to talk to a psychiatrist in a controlled environment because we don't believe that you're going to attend an appointment. You've been.
I won't attend. I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
So he's certified. He's certified.
I've never.
And then.
I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
Okay.
What is going on? I was never given a psych eval or nothing. He just looked at me and said, "You're certified."
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know why, but it's up to the doctor. So if you.
But no, he didn't even give me an eval. He just looked at me and said, "I'm certified, man."
I get that.
Please consider what you're doing, and please think about the fact that I'm more than happy to come in for an appointment. Wow. I'm happy to go through and do everything properly. Okay, I've been completely compliant with everything.
Yes, you've been really good with me, Nicholas. But listen, that's his call, and unfortunately, we can't
but
go back on that.
He hasn't talked to me.
You have to get checked out by a doctor.
You're interacting with me at a very regular. I've never been given a chance.
So I had some eggs and stuff for breakfast this morning. Yeah. They didn't put drapes, so I had to tape this up because my window didn't have drapes. And so all night, there's just light beaming into my room. So I couldn't sleep last night, so I demanded that they give me tape and stuff to put on my windows so that I could sleep tonight. I'm like one of the only rooms that has no drapes. Shangri-La, baby. So I had some.
How fucking strange.
This is crazy.
Strange. So here's the thing. Like, this doctor ran into him somewhere and said, "I'm certifying you." Based on what?
That's
right?
insane.
And is he really a conservative influencer, or is that a narrative? Like, I don't understand what that means. Like, if you are quote unquote conservative and you have 1,000 people on your Instagram and you rant and rave, in a manic depressive manner, are you a conservative influencer now, or is that like rage bait to get them to say like? But here's the thing, like, Canada has socialized medicine, and they also have insane government overreach.
Exactly.
And if there was someone who was a rabble-rouser online and that person happened to be acting a little kooky, wouldn't that be a great time? But meanwhile, how many fucking liberal, this is Vancouver, which is like Portland on steroids. Like, how many kooky fucking people on the left are being pulled into mental hospitals and making these similar videos? Fucking zero. Which is a little odd, but it doesn't mean that this guy's not a little off the rails. Because the videos that I saw, see if you can find some videos of him off. They might have been pulled from the internet, but a bunch of people were saying, "Hold on, there's more to this," and they were showing some of the. Here's the other problem: I don't know if those videos are real. Those videos could be AI. In this day and age, it's almost impossible to tell. You could say, you have video of this guy. You'd say, have this guy screaming shit stuff about needing a vagina in the middle of his back. Or you could have anything. You could say anything.
But this is why you got to be so careful about authoritarianism creeping into government.
Yes.
It really is.
That right there. First of all, I don't like his backseat. All that shit, boxes and stuff.
Exactly.
That looks a little kooky. Like, that fits that he might be losing his marbles if he's got, stacks of stuff, unless he's like leaving an office and moving stuff and putting it in his backseat temporarily. It's a weird sign when the entire backseat is filled with boxes and trash. You might be losing your marbles. But he did sound like there's no in my eyes, listening to him talk, there's no indication that this guy's a threat to himself and he must be institutionalized. That guy's more than capable of speaking in a very rational manner. So even if he's nuts, he's not that nuts. There's a lot of nutty people.
Yes, who are much more dangerous. To me, this is very, like, we're talking earlier about the medicalization and everything. And there's a trend here of this inhumanity that is really, really dark. I mean, did you see the, I don't know if you followed the back and forth on, with the AI guys on regulating AI and whether AI is positive or negative, that whole debate.
Which
Did you see Amadei, the Anthropic guy?
What did he
Just
say?
in the last few days, there was this. It was. I think it was on one of the other on All In. That's right. Someone was talking about him wanting to have like hyping up the doom scenario from AI.
These guys that are hyping up the doom of AI are the actual people that were working on it.
This is
what gets
Dario
scary.
Amadei, who's the CEO of and the founder of Anthropic, and he replied. And so the argument was he's hyping it up because he wants regulation, government regulation, that will protect the kind of big incumbents against, competition. That was the argument. And then he replied to the argument by saying he's had some stuff about regulation. Then he did long posts on X. And the first one was about the regulation. But the second one was about, actually, I'm not Mr. Doom when it comes to AI. I've always said it can be really positive. And one of the things he pointed to was this essay that he wrote called Machines of Loving Grace, 14,000 words. And that was his response to like being characterized as Mr. Negative. When you look at this thing, it's so dark. Like he's going on about, well, there'll be no, we can foresee a time when human beings can't make useful contributions to the economy, and that people won't have much to do, and then they can play video games. And then at one point, this is what the thing that made me think of it, when he was raising, well, what are kids going to do? And there's he starts going about, we have things like Ritalin, and we know how to medicate people when they're depressed, so it's fine if they don't have a sense of Ritalin. Are you kidding me?
If they don't have a sense of worth, we'll numb them.
Literally, that's what he wrote.
Yeah.
And that's what he pointed to as him being Mr. Positive. It's just terrifying.
So this is recently?
This is within the last week.
Okay, and what is his position in the company?
He's the founder of Anthropic.
Okay.
Like the big two.
The programmers, though, are the ones that are leaving and writing poetry. They're giving up on society, and they're hiding and waiting. You hear about that. There's one lead programmer that he wrote some, basically a statement as he was leaving, explaining the impending doom that is coming to civilization and how he's checking out and he's going to ride it out and see what happens. But he left the United States. I think he went to Ireland or somewhere like that.
Okay.
And he said he's going to write poetry.
Okay.
This is an existential crisis this guy's having while he's working.
While he's working on it.
Working on this thing and realizing this thing is conscious.
Well, that's one of the things that I feel is so odd about the two that have been most negative are Dario Amadei, he's Anthropic, and Sam Altman, OpenAI.
Yeah.
They're the most negative, or have been. And if you believe half the things they're saying, they're like, well, why are you doing it then? If you think this is the end of the human, whatever, I know they have dialed it back a bit, but why would you keep building something?
Did you see when Peter
so
Thiel?
Bad?
When Peter Thiel got asked whether or not the human race should survive,
what did he say? Oh, please.
He paused for like fucking 15 seconds, like,
I didn't read this, but Perplexity
Machines.
says that the mention of Ritalin is like a good thing. Like we figured out how to improve ourselves with things like Ritalin, and using AI could potentially make it even better.
I mean, come on.
That AI will make Ritalin even better, so we'll just be on awesome drugs?
No, that we'll find better versions of drugs that are better than Ritalin.
So instead of people finding meaning and purpose in life,
No,
we'll
it's just not how it's being talked about.
Well, what is he saying?
That
Then?
says right
Why
here,
does
it
he
says
need the
using
metaphor?
riddles is not in the nothing to do and work and meaning discussion. It appears the speculation is just about the future of neuroscience.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So what they're saying, they're talking about increasing the potency or making these things more effective for mental health interventions using AI. Okay, so he argues that AI-driven biology could enable much greater cognitive and mental health interventions than those available today. That's really wonderful if true, right? Like I personally know people that have been saved by SSRIs. Like I'm not a blanket SSRIs are bad. I have a friend that was severely depressed and suicidal, and I got him a psychiatrist, and he got him out, and he eventually got his life back in gear, weaned himself off him. Now he's great. So like who knows? That guy could have made a hasty decision and taken his own life, and if he was in Canada, they might have probably fucking encouraged it, right? So he's fine now. It's just the problem is they're ridiculously overprescribed.
Yeah.
And there's another solution. The other solution is a natural human solution.
Exactly
It doesn't
right.
involve medication. It involves exercise and nutrition and
Exactly.
community.
Exactly.
And we can all encourage that
100%.
for free. You know, you can fucking do push-ups and bodyweight
what?
squats. It doesn't cost you a nickel. You don't have to go to a pharmacy. Like all these things are already here. Like why are we developing addictive chemical solutions?
Yes.
Because they're all addictive. Every one of them. I have a good buddy right now who got off of them. He was doing great, and now he's back on them again. Because he's fucked. His system's fucked because he's been on them for 20 years. And it's scary because I know people that have been on them that have done rash things. And they don't feel like they're themselves anymore. And then there's also the weird sexual side effects, the numbness of the genitals, inability to have orgasms. There's a lot of fucking weird shit attached to it when there's another solution.
That's what's so.
Here's some interesting context. According to Snopes, that guy was arrested after he posted
The Vancouver thing.
After he posted what?
this document.
This is not solicitation. If you find this document unattended, do not remove it from the property where it was placed unless you're the owner of said property. Removing this document make you criminally liable for indictable offense carrying a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. So what is this document?
It's on Google Docs. It's just the brief explanation. It's talking about how China and Canada are corrupt and making a dictator.
It says
police
China
state.
and the corrupt Canadian government are trying to turn Vancouver into a dictatorship police state. China has been classified as high-risk adversary by all long-term democratic security alliances, NATO, NORAD, the Five Eyes Alliance, the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, even Carney himself during elections. Carney has committed treason via secret Chinese policing and law enforcement MOU, illegal Chinese police stations in Vancouver, selling Vancouver to China via the Aboriginal Peoples UNDRIP. Well, is he right?
So that's right. I have no idea if he's right or not, but it was saying he was not maybe an influencer, but a commentator. He had like 67,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh, and this could be
then,
why they're saying he's nuts.
Right, I guess.
Because
that's,
he's uncovering some shit that's probably
Yeah.
going on.
It
I was going
could
to
be
say,
true
though,
or
this
not
is
true.
not
That's what I don't
exactly
know.
out of the mainstream to be.
Listen, the fucking mayor of Arcadia in California, they just found out was a Chinese spy. The
I
mayor
know.
of a city in
Well,
California.
just today there was more about Swalwell and Fang Fang, the Chinese spy.
The guy wanted to be governor, and he's like
I know.
shacked up with a spy.
I wanted to make the joke.
Like,
I was
doggy.
like, so the very first debate, the very first TV debate, you know, you're kind of getting ready and think, and I really wanted to make a sort of Fang Fang Bang Bang joke. Fang Fang Gang Bang. It's an obvious joke, right?
So he admitted to physical relations.
Yeah, but he denied it for all
years.
the time. But denied it.
So just today he admitted it?
I think it's just in the news today. I don't know what happened.
Well, was he trying to make a comeback?
No,
no.
no.
Bang the spy. Whoopsies.
But I really wanted to make this joke about him, the Fang Fang. It's just so you can't resist it, right?
It's a funny name.
Exactly, Fang Fang Bang, whatever. Anyway, so and then he didn't show up, and I think, well, he denied that it's. Can I really say that?
Right.
You got to be fair. You got to try and be accurate.
Good for you.
So, but then he didn't show up to the debate because he claimed that there was, I don't know, he had some vote or whatever. So I
Well-
never got to debate him.
The idea that this kid in Canada is being brought into for mental health evaluation in prison because he's uncovering that's not unprecedented. That's believable. I don't know if it's true. He might also have been a little kooky. This is again. I
people- it's
don't know if
America.
the videos that I saw are real, but the videos that especially considering what we're talking about now, if
Yeah.
you were trying to make someone look insane, that was uncovering some real serious corruption with a foreign government,
Right.
Which is possible.
Of course, it's possible, and also it's America, right? We're in a huge country. It's like beautifully crazy in many ways. You know,
Yes.
people can think what then, and they've got the internet, and you get people will, you know, honestly, all the time, people are giving me things. You know, they shove things in my hand or an envelope, whatever, and I open it up every single time because half the time it's something that's, you know, something conspiratorial that isn't right. Or doesn't seem right, and other times it's like really good ideas. But the point is that actually are useful, or that make me think about something in a different way. But the point is that yes, there's lots of people out there with, somewhat crazy ideas. You can't lock them all up.
Well, it's not just that. There's lots of real corruption.
Yes,
and if this
exactly.
guy posts this, and has there been an investigation? Do we know whether or not this is an act? Has it been completely debunked? Because if it has, oh well, then maybe you're right. Maybe he's crazy.
Yeah.
Or if it turns out that everything he's saying is true, maybe he's a slightly crazy person who's also uncovering the truth,
Yes,
which
exactly
is like
right. Exactly. And
the
sometimes it takes obsessive people.
That was the premise of
to
that
do
Mel
that.
Gibson movie.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
He was
No,
crazy,
which one?
but he was actually right.
No, which one?
Yeah, I think it was called Conspiracy Theory.
Yep.
Yeah, was that with
Him and Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts? Yeah, it was
Oh,
fun.
that's great.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
He was like a nutty dude who was onto things. He's basically like Alex Jones.
That sounds really interesting.
It was a good movie.
I love that.
You know, for the time, a little dated. You go watch
I
it
don't
today,
know.
you'd be like, eh.
What we do, one of the things is we're on the road the whole time, like long drives. It's California, and so I find some of these, you know, every now and again you just want something, you know. So there's a lot of movies, it turns out, that are big parts of American culture that I haven't seen. We watched, what was it the other night? Superbad. I'd never seen
Oh,
it.
it's
I'd
a
never seen
classic.
it. It's so good.
It's one of the best comedies of
It
all
was
time.
so good,
It's
and I'd
fucking
never seen
great.
it.
I unfortunately tried watching with my kids when they were 10 and 12. I'm like,
Oh.
here, sit down and watch this. And then we shut it off after 3 minutes. I'm like, sorry. I forgot.
So good.
Yeah, I forgot.
Brilliant, right? I mean, it's not
Brilliant.
just like funny and a kind of slapstick with a bit of that, but it was just really clever.
The
Good
scene where the
writing.
kids just sitting in class drawing dicks.
It's
It's
brilliant.
so funny. By the way, could not make that movie today. And the people who
That's what
made
we
that
were saying
movie
when we
would
watched-
not make that
Yeah,
movie today.
We were literally talking about. So, my friend Eric, who he's on my team. We've become good friends. He's you met him earlier. Like that's exactly what we were saying. Like
they
you
got
couldn't make it.
captured. Well, they got captured. That's the problem with being on the team of the left. They got captured
Yeah.
by an ideology that destroyed comedy in their world, right?
Yeah.
They cannot do that kind of comedy anymore.
Yeah.
That kind of nobody believes that you support all the things these people are saying
Of
in this film.
course.
You're just showing
It's
a
just
ridiculous
funny.
human being who's saying some crazy shit, and it makes you laugh. It's not changing the fucking world. It's not altering anybody's opinions, and it's not going to force people to do anything that they wouldn't have ordinarily done. No good person is going to watch that movie and want to go out and do bad things. That's not how it works. It's
Exactly.
just a piece of
Exactly.
art. It's just like, Bob Marley didn't really shoot the sheriff, okay? It's a fucking piece of art. It's a piece of art. And it's a piece of art that we have fucked up. It's particularly movies, because movies are attached to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then stand-up comedy, fortunately, has an out. And because of the internet,
Yes.
we don't need
Yes,
Hollywood
yes.
anymore. So,
Well, that's
but
the
because
other
of that, we now get labeled right-wing. Especially
It's so
stand-up
interesting,
comedy
that
that's
thing.
like not
Yeah.
adherent. And I don't want to call it anti-woke because that's silly. Because
Yeah.
it's not anti-woke. It's just comedy.
Yeah.
It's just like woke doesn't allow certain
But
subjects.
also, it's just it should be anti-establishment, and when the establishment is taken over by an ideology, it happens to be that. But you go
Yes.
the other way when it's the people in power. It's supposed to be against the people in power.
It's supposed to be what is funny.
What is funny, fair enough,
What
yeah.
is funny.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
And as soon as you say, no, you can't make fun of this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? It's a religion. It's basically like it's blasphemy to make fun of whatever you
It's
whatever you decide it
ridiculous.
is.
It's weird. Yeah.
And that killed that kind of movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those fucking movies were everywhere.
Yeah.
The Hangover. There was always a movie
Yes.
like that. Fucking, there's so many
There's
of them.
but a lot of them I haven't seen. We were just talking about it the other night. Yeah,
Ace Ventura Pet Detective, the whole premise
one.
was about a transgender woman, and you find out she was transgender, and everybody throws up. Do you remember?
No, I haven't seen. I honestly haven't.
You never saw Ace
What
Ventura
about,
Pet Detective?
No. I know. We got to do a list for
You're
the road.
too busy watching Monty Hall over there. Fucking Benny Hill reruns.
Benny Hill. My favorite Benny Hill thing.
Benny Hill was
so
like.
I'm not saying this, but I couldn't. Like the first. There's a friend of mine at Fox. She's called Kennedy. She's very fun, and she used to always. Do you remember Janet Yellen?
Yes.
She was there. She always called her Benny Hill, and then the minute I saw that I saw a picture of her the next time, I just couldn't get.
Kennedy was an MTV VJ.
Yeah, she's great.
And then she became a Republican talking head on Fox. I was like, that's nuts.
She's a real libertarian, though.
But isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Like someone's like on MTV with like a girl with glasses on. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
progressive, for sure. And then winds up on.
But she's cool. She's libertarian. She
seems
did,
very smart.
She's great, very funny. She does Freedom Fest. She's like she's a big part of that. The libertarian thing.
Okay.
She's great.
How'd she go from being a VJ? Like,
I don't know.
Here's the next fucking, you know.
Well, she's from LA.
Tears
She's
for Fears
very
video.
She's great. Anyway, she used to call Janet Yellen Benny Hill.
That's funny.
But I love the comedy thing. Like that's another joy actually. So I used to really. So Eric's really into Louis C.K. So I'd seen a bit of him, obviously, but I've watched a lot now. He's so great. I mean, we've really enjoyed that.
Brilliant comedian.
Brilliant.
And yeah, did some fucking
I know,
ridiculous, weird
but like-
shit, but the way they described it was so different than the actual acts themselves.
But also his response to it was
Yes.
brilliant. That show where he addressed it was so good.
He had a weird kink where he wanted people to watch him jerk off, and he would ask them. And if they said yes, he would do it. Look, I don't think you should do that. I think it seems crazy to be standing in front of a couple of girls and jerking off in front of them, but I'm not him, okay? And I also didn't say, if I said no, open the door, let me out, and then you wouldn't let me out, that's a different story. But that's not what anybody was alleging. It's just kind of gross and weird, and I think he would probably admit to that. But, you know.
He did. And he had a very funny, I thought it was brilliant. I can't remember exactly, but the first big show he did after that, when he sort of returned from like being
his art
away
though
from
is
it.
like what you got to judge. Like what is he? As long as he's not did what like Bill Cosby did, like that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, it
Like, what
didn't seem that it was a kind of systematic, like really machine-like predatory thing that was just a ongoing.
It was a
thing.
weird kink.
Yeah.
He had a weird kink. He wanted to jerk off in front of people. Like okay, it's so look. I get that people would be upset, and if you don't want to watch his comedy anymore, I get that too. That's fine. Everybody has that's your prerogative. But like the comedy itself is some of the best comedy that's ever been written.
It's exactly
ever been done.
Yeah.
He's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a top whatever group of comedians.
Is he in your kind of gang here? How do you like?
Well,
does
he's
he-
in New York, but he actually helped me design the club.
Oh, okay, cool.
He came when it was bare bones, and we went over the club, and he gave me a bunch of great suggestions, and I implemented all of them. The smaller, our rooms are named after the nuclear bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's Fat Man and Little Boy are our rooms. But there's a reason for that. The reason is actually that because it's the comedy mothership, it's a UFO-based comedy club. The UFOs really started showing up in America after the nuclear bomb. So once the nuclear weapons program was implemented in the 1940s, the amount of UFO sightings went through the roof. And the real big ones were like Roswell, New Mexico, which is 47. So right after the war, they started. So this is like part of UFO folklore. So that's why we did it. That's why we named him after the nuclear, and not making light of people dying in horrific nuclear bombs. So he told me to make the stage smaller in the little room. It was a great idea. I was like, right, why is the stage so big? It's a small room. And then he also said, can you, it was already a low ceiling. He's like, can you lower it more? I'm like, we could lower it like right to the top of that door. It's like, you should do that. And like, he gave me some advice on sound deadening in the room and what to do and make it, how to make the sound crystal clear and just great, awesome advice. And the beautiful thing about that club is I took advice from every comedian that was in town. I'd bring them there. I'd go, tell me what you think. What would you want? Like, if you wanted to design a comedy club, I'll literally let you. Like, just tell me what you think. And we ran it through a vote. So there's a whole group of us. And it was like me and Brian Simpson and Ron White and Tony Hinchcliffe and all these guys that were good friends of mine that we performed with all the time. We all just sat around. None of the ideas were like, I think we should do this. I didn't do that with any of them. I said, tell me what you guys want to do. Like, and they were like, you should have this. Like, okay, we'll do that.
Great.
We should have monitors in the green room. We should see the guy on stage. Okay, let's do that. What else? And everything anybody said, we did. We should have free mental health services for all the employees. So we did that. So free availability for counseling, psychiatry. We have that. Or psychologists. They can all go to counselors. So that's free. Healthcare. Take care of everything. Give the comedians way more money than any other club does. We did that. We just like, what do we need? What does everybody
What's the
want?
perfect club?
What does everybody
What does
want?
it look like? Yeah.
Let's do it, and let's do it in a way where we're just trying to make the best thing possible. We're not doing it like, let's make the most money.
Yeah.
We're just trying to not lose money. So let's just do it that way. And it worked. And it worked because of people like Louis C.K. and all these people that came by and gave us advice and told us, what they think.
Fantastic.
So
so
Louis is great. I love him. He's a fucking really smart guy. But like a lot of smart guys, he's fucking weird. A lot of people.
I think that about these AI.
You want to be a
people.
great comedian, you have to be a fucking weirdo. They're all just weird in different ways. Chappelle's weird in his way. Chris Rock's weird in his way. Hinchcliffe's weird in his way. They're all weird. Shane's weird. Everyone's
weird.
weird.
It's an incredible thing to do, honestly. Just it's like really, in a tiny way. I'm not even comparing it, but I'm comparing this in terms of what I'm doing, which is you got to go there and you've got, I don't know, I just did just in the last few days, you've got hundreds of people and you got to entertain them. Now, I'm mainly talking about politics, which is much easier because you've got, material that's just obvious and out there and but you got to keep them entertained. You can't be boring. You can't and it's, you got to give a good show.
Yes.
And so the thought of doing that and being funny for all of it, instead of what I do, which is throw in the odd joke, political joke or something, or self-deprecating joke,
Right, but that's
that's nothing.
But you're not focusing on that. If you focus on that, you could do it.
No, but I'm just saying, I now really appreciate how hard it is. It
is and it isn't. Joey Diaz has the greatest saying. He goes, it's the fucking hardest, easiest thing you'll ever do.
Oh, okay.
Because when you're flowing, it's easy. When you're up there and you're killing, it's so easy. It's hard constructing the material.
I was going to say, a lot of preparation.
There's a lot of preparation, and then there's a lot of time you have to spend alone thinking. And then you have to spend a lot of time bullshitting with your friends. Because sometimes, like the green room conversations, some of us, like Brian Simpson said something the other day, and we're like, write that down. Write that down.
That's
we force each other, like, right, dude, that's a bit. That's 100% a bit. And he started doing it on stage, and it's killing. Like, that happens, too. And it's like the camaraderie and the fun of, like, being together, like, it brews comedy.
Yeah.
But you also need time in front of the fucking computer or the notebook. You need to be sitting there going over your stuff. If you don't do that, you're not going to come up with new material. And then you have to try it out, and you have to be willing to like trot it out there. You have this idea that's only existed in your head, and you're kind of convinced that there's something there, but you're not totally sure. You're like, what do you think about this? And you just throw it out there, and sometimes it's great. And it's like 50-50. Sometimes it's dog shit. And it's 50-50 to what I bring to the stage, whether it's even got life. But writing it down, it's like not even. It's like, it's like the Canadian healthcare system for MAID. It's like 1 out of 20. 1 out of 20 is any good.
I think it's. I mean, it's just really. No, I think it's. Well, I totally appreciate what you're saying, but it's very. I mean, to me, it seems the ultimate. You're just putting yourself out there.
You're definitely putting yourself out there. But you're also doing it this way, too. Like, when you're having conversations, maybe you're putting yourself out there even more because you're actually putting out your opinions, and some of them you had no idea you were going to discuss.
Right.
So you're just trotting it out there, thinking out loud in front of millions of people like we're doing right now. When you're doing stand-up, like, I know these, by the time anyone sees me perform at a club where they're paying money, most of those bits I've been doing. So I've been like, I'm just trying to add to them and hone them and say them the right way and move the order around.
Well, that's
and
why
expand.
I love about it, because I really do love it, and that's why I've really enjoyed. Like I said, Eric's really into it, and he's shown me a lot of comedians I didn't know about, and I love words and language anyway. You know, I've written, but in completely different. I've written books and whatever, TV scripts when I did my show, that kind of thing. So I really appreciate language, and I love just how changing the order of a word or whatever can just make something work or not work.
Oh, yeah.
It's brilliant.
Changing the order of a word, changing the way you do. Sometimes you do a joke. Like Louis used to do that, where he would like reverse a joke, like turn it around, and then maybe he would like take it and do his best joke and open with it so that his jokes afterwards had to get better to follow his best joke. Yeah, it's a constant little fucking laboratory up there, and you need the audience in order to find the life in whatever the hell you're doing.
Do you see their faces? Like, can you see, or the light's too much in your face? Can you see?
You can see most of the first few rows.
Right, because that's important, must be for
It helps.
Yeah.
It definitely helps.
It's not just listening to the volume of laughs, is it? Or, like, what is it?
There's both things, but obviously they're there to have a good time. But my job's easier because I'm going on after they're already laughing, right? So there's been a few people on before me. Everybody's having a good time, and then you're basically just connecting with them. You know, you find them. What's up? How are you? You like let them get comfortable. You connect with them. And then you're just doing the material. You're just finding the reality. You have to be like, whatever you're saying, you have to be 100% thinking about that thing only.
Yes.
You can't be thinking, and then I'm going to say it like that. No, you have to be thinking about the thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the primary thought. You know the pacing of it. You know what's coming next, but you don't think about what's coming next. You think about the thing.
Yeah.
And that's where preparation's important. You have to make sure that you have a set list, an order, but you also have to be flexible because there's going to be moments where you want to like dive out of that set order and something might happen in the audience or something might come up and you have another thing, another take, and you're like, this would go better right here, so I'll shove this in here. And then you have to remember your order and go, I didn't do this, I'll put that later.
It's so fun. It's not the same, but there's a similarity because, you know, I do all these things and you've got bits really, which is my thing on high speed rail. And you know, sometimes there's a long version of it and a short version of it, and whatever.
A bit.
and then suddenly you'll find yourself doing it, even though I hadn't intended to.
Right.
And then oh shit, that's like really long, and I've got to finish. Like, what am I going to cut? So it's very sort of. I mean, it's not the same, but it's similar.
It's similar.
And I definitely find
Trump does bits.
Oh yeah. And he goes on for so. I've never done anything that long, but
remember when he just did this impromptu bit about Biden losing himself on stage, just wandering around, not knowing where he was? It's like he's doing stand-up, like everyone's laughing.
Exactly. But I find it much better. I much prefer it when you're closer to the people, like physically, when you're not on some stage
Comedy
miles
club.
away, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, comedy club's the way to do it. That's the real way. However, there's something very intimate about doing an arena in the round.
Okay.
So I've done a bunch of those where you're standing on a circular stage in the center of the people. And what's intimate about that is all the people over here are looking at all the people over here. Everybody sees everybody.
Yeah. Interesting.
You see each other. It's the right way to do it. Because that way, everybody's seeing everybody else having fun. And they're a lot closer than you think they are. They're all right there. There's a lot of them. But the comedy like sprays out to the outer edges. Yeah. But the center hive all around the stage, which is thousands of people in a 16,000 seat arena, you're looking in the eyes of 6,000 people plus. Yeah. And it's like they're all seeing each other. It's very intimate, oddly.
Great.
Like it's fun, as opposed to like a big arena when you're standing on a very high stage and the people are all out there. Yeah. That feels crazy.
Yeah,
that feels very detached. That's not my favorite. That's my least favorite. Is an arena where it's just a flat stage and you're not like surrounded by them.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like you're just delivering something rather than connecting.
Exactly. But a theater can be pretty intimate too. Like, especially when you're used to doing arenas. If I do like a 3,000 seat theater, it's kind of intimate.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all what you're comfortable with too. That's
Yeah.
a part of it too. It's like, are you comfortable with all these people staring at you? Is
Well,
it
I
okay?
never. You see, that's the weird thing. I would never have. Suddenly, I've never done it before,
Right.
and suddenly you have all these, and it's amazing. I mean, I love the response, but it is weird because I've gone from nothing to
Right.
this, and you go in a room, there's like hundreds of people like cheering.
What's
Oh
the
my
biggest
gosh.
crowd you've had to speak in front of?
Probably when I did Megyn Kelly's show, when Megyn Kelly was here.
Yeah.
Not here, in California, and I did a spot there.
I did the announcements.
Bakersfield. It was in an arena in Bakersfield.
The announcement for the UFC weigh-ins. So I emceed the weigh-ins at the Ellipse on the White House.
Oh.
So it was 80,000 people. That was fucking nuts. That was
Yeah.
the most people I've ever talked to.
Right.
And that was a very different way of talking because all I'm doing is reading people's names and their official weight. It's very easy.
Yeah.
It's just hyping it up, getting everybody pumped up.
Yeah.
Like, ladies and gentlemen, Ilya Topuria. And he comes out and everybody goes crazy. It's easy, but it's the vibe, the feeling of 80,000 people is
Yeah.
fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling. Shane Gillis, my buddy, just did stand-up.
I heard
he
he
sold
76,000
76,000
in Philadelphia,
tickets.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fill a fucking football stadium. That had to be insanity.
Well, you could do that easy if you wanted to.
It's
You'd get the people.
It's a crazy thing to do. I don't know if I could do that easy. It's not easy. He broke the world record.
Okay.
And Shane's huge, and he's
Yeah.
really funny. He's like one of the funniest guys
Yeah,
ever.
that's a good example. I'd never seen him before.
Maybe I'll get him to come down tonight. I don't know if he's there. I mean,
He
if
did
he's
the
in town,
Fox News
I might be able
Dad
to get him.
one. That was the first
Oh,
thing
he's
I
got
saw.
so many good bits.
It
You ever
was
seen his
that-
bit about George Washington's museum?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. It's one of my. I would request it from him all the time. I'm like, please do that bit. It's so funny about George Washington's false teeth being made out of lead. It's such because they were. It's such a crazy bit. It's so good. He's a great comedian.
Yeah.
And that's all he cares about. That's what he loves. And he's like all in. And just an awesome guy too. When you're around him,
Yeah.
he's just so fun. And like everyone always smiles. You're around him. He's contagious. He's a contagious party.
Great.
Fun guy. But like we're really lucky that there's a lot of those guys here now. This is a giant hive of them now.
Well, you've built that.
Well, we all did.
Yeah.
We all came.
No, I hear what you're saying. That they contributed, but
Well, they had to be here for me to be able to do it. This is
I see
not a
what you
thing that I could have ever done and said, "Hey, everybody move here now." It's not. It would have never worked. They had to already be here. Everybody moved here before I even had a club. A lot of them did.
okay.
Yeah, like Segura moved here before I had a club.
Was
Duncan
that a
moved here-
pandemic thing?
Yes.
Like getting out
Yes.
of places with
Yes.
ridiculous.
Yeah, getting out of places and going to a place where you can actually perform. We're all addicts. Stand-up comedy is a very, very addictive thing. And if there's a place where you can go, where you can do it, and your friends already live there. And for me, it was Ron White. And it was also, there's a thing about the freeness of this city, like the freeness of Texas, the freedom that you had here
Yeah.
to be able to go to a restaurant. Your businesses could stay open. They didn't put the same kind of restrictions. They had a small lockdown for a short amount of time, and they went, okay, let's get back to work. And they did. And California's like, we're going to die! And they fucking,
So
there's
I
people
know.
still driving around their cars with masks on.
I know. It's so crazy. I remember. It's so funny thinking about because all this. I was reminded of all this because of the Fauci stuff the other day.
Yeah, the Fauci stuff is wild.
Because I was really, honestly, I mean, I did this show on Fox News. Would never say I'm a journalist, right? Ever. It was an opinion show. I just said what I thought, but I did do like one piece of journalism, like actual journalism, which is the Fauci stuff. It's infuriating, the origin of the virus. I really did, lay that all out in a way that no one else did because I had these people I knew at Stanford. I taught at Stanford. So a lot of that information about Fauci and the origin and all of that I had. And people helped me piece it together. And it's just infuriating that he's still skating.
Well,
And
the most infuriating to me thing was that he knew about the miscarriages during the first trimester. He knew about that, and he was still promoting it for pregnant women. Like, how many women listened to him and got vaccinated and then had a
disgusting.
miscarriage? I mean, we don't even know what the numbers are, right? Because those are never reported as vaccine injuries. We have no idea.
I mean, but I was listening to, who did you have on the other week? That lady who wrote the book. You got into it with her. She had a book you're talking about. I can't remember. She's like an investigative.
Annie Jacobson?
Yeah.
She about the germ warfare, about biological warfare.
So I was just listening to that, and then I did like you were talking.
We didn't
about,
really get into it. Like we didn't argue.
A little bit on the origins and the gain of function and all of that.
Oh, well, she just probably was trying to be politically correct and probably not.
Well,
probably
anyway,
still trying to sell books or something.
I don't know. All I remember thinking is that it's still not. I don't think understood how directly Fauci was implicated. Like, it's still, you hear this language of, he funded the gain of fun. He pushed it. This was his thing.
Yeah.
He really, really was the main global champion of gain of function.
Not only that, he enforced the narrative that this was not a lab leak and that talking about it as a lab leak was racist.
Yes. The thing that I remember when I first laid that out, and it was, it's still on my Wikipedia. Like, I pushed the conspiracy theory that, Fauci did the virus, but he did. I always try and show people, like, when they say, well, why would he do something like that? He was really the main advocate. There's a piece he wrote. I always start with this, which is, I think it's December 2011, because gain of function had been around a few years. They started with the ferrets or whatever, and they had this new technique, Ralph Barrick and all of that.
Yeah.
And then it became very controversial in the scientific community. You had a whole bunch of scientists saying, this is crazy. This is going to lead to a pandemic. You had people saying that.
Yeah.
And Fauci argued back, and he wrote this piece at the end of 2011 with the other guy, Francis Collins, who ran the NIH, saying that engineering, I think it's almost an exact word, engineering a potentially dangerous virus in the laboratory is a risk worth taking. He wrote that. Like, he was pushing this stuff. And like the thing that everyone, it was his initiative. It wasn't he like passively funded this thing that some other minions were doing. This was his big thing.
Yeah.
It's just outrageous that it hasn't been. And he broke the rules. That's the other part that people forget. That Obama in 2014 put a moratorium on it.
Yes.
Which included stuff that was already in train, which included the project that led to COVID. And then again, people often say, well, Trump lifted the moratorium. He did, but he put back a new thing, which was, it was called the potential pandemic pathogens protocol, which said that when you renew a project, it should go to independent review. He broke that as well. So he broke the rules to push this. And he's like still not really had to pay any price for it, unless you say his reputation.
The reputation, but he's also so old that he's not working anymore anyway. But the thing about it was that pardon that gave him a pardon for crimes that he had not been convicted for, which had never happened before.
Right.
A preemptive pardon and also for 10 whole years for everything he did. He could have been eating babies for 10 years and like, no, pardon.
Fine. Exactly.
And then when you have a pardon, you're not supposed to be able to plead the fifth. And yet he pleads the fifth with everything, including the color of his fucking tie.
It's just disgusting.
He's a strange guy. And the fact that he was a hero really shows how sick people were in 2020 looking for some sort of a solution. But also they didn't know his history. They didn't know what he did during the AIDS crisis. Yeah. He's a scary person.
Yeah. And
he scares me.
And the arrogance of it. And the thing that I'm also get really pissed off about still is when you hear the conversation around this, going back now to the lockdowns and all of that, and the school closures that was such a disaster, businesses, churches, and people say, well, we didn't really know, and it was early, and we were just being... We did know. It's not true. I did a piece March 2020, it was before the end of 15 days to slow the spread, right at the beginning, because I got to know through Stanford, Jay Bhattacharya, John Ioannidis, all these guys that were speaking out. They did a blood, what they would call it, seroprevalence thing in Santa Clara County, where this whole thing started, proving everything that we now knew, and including what Fauci now we know from his diary knew as well.
Those Santa Clara County, is this the two doctors that they went public with this and then they lost their license and they were
this
shamed?
is different. This is Jay and John Ioannidis. They were so Ioannidis.
Well, I know about Jay, and the crazy thing about him was that he was one of the people that was kicked off of Twitter, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, which is...
And worse than that, kicked out, really persecuted by Stanford.
Yes.
They need to be held accountable. That was a crazy thing. So the first lockdown in the country was Santa Clara County, in one of the Bay Area counties. Then the next day, the other Bay Area counties did it. And then after that, Gavin did statewide. That's where it started. And the woman who pushed it was the public health, God, I haven't talked about this for ages, the public health director or whatever of Santa Clara County, Sarah Cody. And she was married to the head of Stanford Medicine. And Jay spoke out against what was going on with actual data. They did a study of what was happening in the community that proved that the case fatality rate was far lower than what they're saying.
Well, it was also in the leaked emails.
All of this.
He was aware that it was far lower, and he was still promoting it.
Exactly. But the point is that it was, again, corruption. Because he was speaking out against the lockdowns that were pushed by this woman, Sarah Cody, her husband, who was head of Stanford Medicine, persecuted Jay. He was treated so badly. They suspended him. They accused him of, they had some bullshit investigation into him. Outrageous. That no one's ever done anything about that, as far as I can tell, with Stanford.
No, it's creepy to watch that top-down power in action when you know that they're lying. And when you're seeing these text messages and emails, the Fauci thing is very creepy. When it just shows you why he was pushing for that pardon. But then there's the question of whether or not that pardon's even legitimate because it's all auto pen stuff. Yeah. And Biden was out of his fucking mind. I know.
Well, the thing I always think is also this, the state level, so it's a federal pardon.
Right.
And so states are going to, but then there's this immunity if you're doing stuff in your public role. You can't be sued for that or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he lives in hell. I mean, he knows. But I think he's a bit of a sociopath. I think there's something about him. Like when he was prescribing people AZT for AIDS, he's a doctor. He's well aware that AZT was pulled as a cancer medication because it was killing people quicker than cancer. They were using it as chemotherapy, and people were dying faster. And so they already had this FDA-approved drug. And so this new gay cancer, I mean, they literally were calling it the gay cancer at first. They just started giving it to them. Like, well, we have a medication for it. And then Fauci's on record saying the reason why we prescribe AZT is because it's the only medicine that's both safe and effective. Effective at what? Effective at killing asymptomatic people? They were also using the same playbook that they used during COVID by using these testing methods that had an enormous amount of false positives. Like Kerry Mullis himself there's a video of him. He's the guy who invented PCR testing. He's talking about Fauci. Fauci doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Yeah. He's a bureaucrat. The guy's full of shit. He doesn't know that you should never use a PCR to determine whether or not someone is ill. He's like, it's not how it works, because if you ramp up the cycles enough, you could find anything. And that's what they did during COVID. They found it's 80-something% false positives. Fortunately, a lot of those people weren't forced to take AZT. But there's a lot of people that turned positive for HIV that probably didn't have it at all. They gave them AZT and they were fucking dead. And he's the villain in the Dallas Buyers Club, that movie with Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. That's all about people who have AIDS seeking alternative treatments and being denied them, because he was trying to find a vaccine for it, even back then. They were testing the vaccine for it on fucking foster kids and killing them in New York. It's all in RFK Jr.'s book. And again, if his book lies, how come he hasn't been sued?
It's really amazing how they're able to get away with stuff that's truly evil.
Truly evil, yeah. I mean, testing the AIDS vaccine on foster kids is crazy, and them dying, it's crazy.
But there's just
the AZT thing is crazy.
I don't know what determines when the sort of the media mindset towards something or whatever that means that this story gets attention and massive.
Oh, it's really
focus and-
simple. It's really simple. Pharmaceutical drug commercials. All that would change
okay.
if they're not allowed to advertise. We're one of 2 countries in the fucking world that allow pharmaceutical drugs to advertise on television. One of them is New Zealand, and they're far more restrictive than us. And because of that, you have ads that you see that are playing on CNN that are not even for a drug that's commonly used, for some weird condition that very few people have.
And, persuade you've got the condition.
That's so. What they're really doing is not selling drugs. What they're really doing is making sure that CNN does never talk shit about the pharmaceutical drug companies and doesn't do any stories on the adverse side effects and doesn't do any stories about how many of them get pulled by the FDA that initially get approved and they find such horrific side effects they have to pull them because it's a large percentage. It's fucking nuts, man. And it's who was it that brought it up that was explaining how he had figured out a long time ago that the reason why they spend so much money on advertising is not because they're trying to sell drugs. They're trying to buy these networks.
That's interesting.
Well, it makes sense. It's an enormous part of their ad budget, right? And they spend so much money on television. And who the fuck is watching CNN at this stage of the game? What are their numbers? Their numbers are pretty piss poor.
They are.
For the amount of money that these drug companies are spending. And then you see so many ads. So many for this, and everyone's always at a barbecue. They're always
I know.
They're always having fun.
They're having fun, and there was a brilliant parody that Nicole Shanahan did when she was with Bobby, running. She did a brilliant one for TDS. Do you suffer from TDS, Trump derangement syndrome? She did like a pharma ad.
Oh, that's
brilliant.
funny.
It was really, really great. That's so crazy. But the thing I was thinking of when you when you got really dark human consequences. So, obviously I'm focused on it because he's my opponent. But the story of Becerra and the kids, the migrant kids, it's a story. I bring it up to people, and a lot of people have never heard about it. Like, literally no idea.
What is the story?
He did. When he was he had Bobby's job, and Bobby Kennedy's job, HHS secretary, and it was during the 4 years that you had the open border, and the way it works is that had millions of people coming across the open border. We don't know exactly how many, but the unaccompanied kids are the responsibility of HHS. That's how the system works. So he was responsible for them. And the total number we know because it's recorded, 479,000 kids.
Unaccompanied.
Kids without parents. It's an amazing number in the 4 years of the Biden administration. All of those kids were Javier Becerra's responsibility. So they were overwhelmed. They set up these camps. Do you not know any of this? Have you heard?
Yeah, it's okay. I know
they have these camps they set up to process the kids. In Florida, Texas, there were 3 in California. And the point was to try and get the kids to a safe sponsor, relative, someone who'd look after them. And they had so many, they were overwhelmed. And there's really bad stuff going on in the camps. There were reports of sexual abuse. The older kids, some of the older kids were like, 17-year-old rough, some were gang members, whatever. So there was all this shit going on in the camps. Sexual abuse, physical abuse. It was bad. And it was like pictures of, like we went to one in Pomona, one of the exhibition halls, like 150 kids on cots. It was bad. And so Becerra wants these kids out because it looks bad. And they'd gone on and on about kids in cages with Trump. And so he basically, and we've now got these whistleblowers coming forward. And the New York Times reported it. The New York Times broke this story. But it's just basically not gone anywhere. They did it in 2023. That he dismantled the vetting that was supposed to put the kids with a safe place. And so they lost track of thousands of kids. And many went to child sex traffickers, slave labor, child labor traffickers. Just horrific stories. You had...
and what was the rationale for it?
Because they weren't moving them out of the camps quickly enough. So we had a whistleblower come to us, because these people said, how can he be governor? Who said, we were supposed to connect the kids with the responsible adult, check their identity, ID checks, home visits, all this. But the instruction was, it's going too slowly. We got to get the kids out. She said speed over safety. And so when they raised flags about it, like 200 kids sent to an address that turned out to be a container lot, like not a real address. It was just a front for traffickers. A kid sent to a woman who was wanted by Interpol, like a gang member, like just crazy. So when they raised those stories, they were fired. Like, it's really terrible what happened. And still, HHS just published some, because they were still responsible, numbers from, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that there's 330,000 that they're still missing. They don't know where they are. 40 kids died. Like, it's really bad. And yet, it's like Fauci's like, he's the candidate for governor. No one's really calling him out on it. It's amazing to me. It's really bad, Joe. Honestly, you've got...
That is crazy.
You've got
you
to go...
could be responsible for that many kids and say speed over safety.
So there's a story, again, the whistleblower. We've put out about the videos. I mean, some people, this woman said she was a caseworker at Pomona. And Becerra actually visited that camp. Did a photo op, whatever, and he's going on about how we're doing a good job of finding safe places, whatever. And then the interviewer, I was at the taping. She's in a job where she doesn't want retaliation. So I was there for the 2 hours we taped the conversation. And the interviewer asks her, did anything change after Becerra's visit? She said, yeah, everything had to speed up. And they had strike teams that were set up to tell us, don't check when she would say, this ID is obviously a fake ID for this person. Like the photo's like a selfie. It's obviously fake. Don't worry, just send them quick, get them out.
Jesus
like really bad.
Christ.
And this, even the New York Times story had a boy who, she had a few examples because she tracked them down. She won a Pulitzer Prize for it. A kid who ended up in a meat packing plant, 13, 14-year-old, had his arm ripped off in an accident. Our girl, one of those, she came forward as a whistleblower, a victim. She was on camera. She said, she's telling the story. She was like put on a plane and they said, what happens? They didn't let her take her stuff. She was met at the other end. She said, there's 3 guys. She has no idea who these people are. She's from, I think, Guatemala. It was El Salvador. Gets in a car with 3 guys, no idea. Taken to a house. She has to work 20 hours a day, sleep on the floor with 4 guys in a room. She's just a girl from, it's just, and there's so many of these stories. The way Bobby puts it is that Becerra turned HHS into the largest child trafficking operation in history.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy's running for governor of California?
I remember, honestly, Joe, like, when we did these debates, we did a lot, and not just debates, but forums, and you meet. And I thought he's a nice, I'd see him. We'd chat backstage or whatever. And I thought, he's kind of nothing. He's a bureaucrat type person. Nice guy, perfectly nice, smiley. He's a nice, amiable guy. And I just thought he's like an amiable non-entity. But the more you learn about this, it's like really bad. Because it's a classic thing with these career politicians. Obviously, all that mattered was, I don't want to look bad. We've got all these kids, they're in these camps, the media has access to them. It's really making me look bad. Get these kids out. It's just shocking.
Oh my God.
It's shocking.
That's so evil.
Yeah, it is.
And it's also really racist.
All of them were Latino kids.
Yeah, because you think about it. If that was all kids from Norway, little young boys and girls from Norway, do you think they would treat them the same way?
So Pomona, where this camp was, there were 3 in California, Long Beach, San Diego, and Pomona. So the caseworker who did the whistle, she said, there's a notorious child sex trafficking street area near there. She said, before this, most of the girls were African American, black girls. After the camp, suddenly it was all Latino girls. Like, it was just so obvious that that was what was happening.
God, that's
Child
so
sex
sick.
trafficking.
Well, if there's child sex traffickers and there's such an obvious vulnerability, like hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied kids making it
Yes.
across the border,
Yes.
of course, they're going to sneak in.
Exactly.
The whole thing was insane.
Can I just add one other thing?
Yes.
The boy, they took away they had these papers that they would send them off with, and it had a line, had information on it, which included a hotline that they set up if the kids felt they were in danger. It's a kind of trafficking hotline. There were 65,000 unanswered calls to the hotline. It was just a bullshit-like thing that didn't work. And again, the people who pointed that out were fired.
Oh my God.
It's really bad. It's like, to me,
The people that pointed it out were fired.
it's just, this is, to me, I've been in and around politics, media, government, one way or another for a long time. I've never seen anything like this. And he's like,
It doesn't even seem like it could be real.
that's what I thought.
The numbers are so crazy. It seems like some
crazy.
sort of a conspiracy theory that's
Exactly.
easily disproven.
Exactly. Well, in the first reporting of it was the New York Times, 2023.
Holy shit.
But everything that's coming out it's worse even than that.
What do you think was going on with the whole open border?
I think that I think they believed that any kind of restriction on immigration was racist, and therefore it was part of the ideology around that. That we can't put, people are coming and they're fleeing bad conditions, and you can't stop them because it's racist to put restrictions on immigration. I think that's what it was mainly.
Okay. So that is a great way to justify flying people into swing states and then trying to turn them into citizens, which is what they were actively talking about doing. Pelosi talked about that. Schumer talked about that. They talk about getting these people citizenship, which means those people can vote. There's also moving them into these swing states, and if you move them into the swing states, the census doesn't count whether or not you're a citizen. The census counts whether or not you're a human being, and so it changes the number of congressional seats that are available. So there's that. And then there's also putting these people on free health care and giving them money and setting them up. And then if you can get those people to vote eventually, you've got a built-in voter. And you could change, like,
So I don't know about that.
whatever million people got in over the last 4 years, they're not going to vote for Trump. How many?
Except
If you
they
can make
were.
those people vote, if you can let those people vote, how many of those people are going to vote for the Republicans that wanted to get rid of them with ICE? And how many of them are going to vote for the Democrats that wanted to fund them and help them get across the border? It's pretty simple. Even if you don't get all of them, you're going to get most of them.
Do you think that, I hear that often.
This is what Elon thinks.
It seems to me that's so dark and cynical.
Well, if they wanted to do to the whole country what they've done to California and have complete and total control with one party, well, they've already done it in a state. Why not just implement it through the entire country? In California, you can't show ID
I know
to vote.
it's illegal. I know, it's
That,
just crazy.
why would you do that? Why would you do that? There's only one reason.
Yeah.
You want to cheat.
And
That's
now
the only
they've
reason.
got, and we've got voter ID on the ballot in November in California.
Which is
and
crazy that you have to ask for that.
Exactly. And the Attorney General of this guy Bonta, I don't know if you've been following, he's doing the Paramount lawsuit. He's like a total political hack. All he ever does, like we've got out of control crime and all this shit. All he does, and the same with, by the way, Becerra, he's my opponent. He was Attorney General of California, appointed. He didn't get elected. All he talks about in terms of his record, and he was attorney during the time when crime exploded, is how many times he sued Trump. But this guy Bonta, now, there was this ballot initiative. There is a ballot initiative on November for voter ID. He just changed the description. Did you see this?
No.
So it had a kind of accurate description of what it was. this measure, on the ballot, and the voter information says, this measure will require people to show ID, blah, blah, blah. And that was approved by the whole system. And just in time before they start printing them, because it's the Attorney General who decides, changed it to say, like, the most negative possible thing. I haven't got the exact words, you can find it, but it was like, this measure prohibits voting unless you have, and it goes on to make it sound really good. It's so cynical. This is just what they do.
Yeah, well, they were trying to get people to look at it in terms of look at it through their ideological lens rather than through a practical lens. But it's also like, it's so crazy that you have to have ID for almost everything else.
It's crazy. And they say, oh, it's so discriminatory. Like, what are you talking about? That's racist.
Yeah, what about driving a car? You have to have a license to drive a car. What about,
check into a hotel. I mean, every night I'm at a different Hampton Inn. That's where we stay. ID.
Yeah, you have to show ID to buy booze. It's like ID's everywhere. It's normal. It's like, we need to know that you're real.
When you watch them defend their opposition to it, it really, I'm generally not at all, I really do try and see the best. That's just their ideology or whatever, then it's not really cynical. But when you see the way they wriggle and squirm over voter ID, it's like, what other explanation is there?
Exactly.
It's such a ridiculous thing to be opposed to.
It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that there's an advantage, and the advantage is definitely on the side of the Democrats, the voter ID advantage. It's just crazy. It's just we have lost our fucking collective minds, and it doesn't help when this administration is in this war with Iran that makes no fucking sense whatsoever, and everybody's like, oh, so you look at that like. It just builds up the other side's argument.
Well, that's what they say. So
you have to vote them out no matter what.
Perfect example. Massive thing in California for everyone is gas prices, highest in the country by far. Higher than Hawaii in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, even though we have abundant oil reserves in California. It's so insane. They're literally shipping in. They're shutting down California oil production, shipping it in from halfway around the world. Like 80% now is shipped from Iraq and the Amazon rainforest. Like Gavin goes to the Amazon rainforest to the climate conference to lecture everyone about climate. Because of his climate policies, oil drilling in the Amazon is now being increased to provide California's oil. Anyway, so it's so crazy. So they do all these things, like right now, and and it's all as a direct result of what they've done, right? In the gas prices are so high, and it's regular working people who are screwed, like people who drive their cars and trucks every day for it's not the climate worries, on their laptops in Marin County. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. The war is now their go-to response. So you make a point about gas prices. Oh, it's Trump's war. And of course, it's true that the war has increased gas prices everywhere, but it's still $2 higher in California than anywhere else.
Yeah.
But it lets them off the hook.
Well, it's just indicative of the same problem that you're going to have whenever a single party is running a state for that long unchecked. Just like you were talking about Hungary, or it's just like it could be anywhere. You could fill in the blank anywhere in the world where you get power and you get complete control, and then you can just tax the fuck out of people, and then you keep increasing government, which they keep doing. It's pretty wild.
Would changing this law make it cheaper, or would that be even harder to do?
California gas, because it uses a unique, strictly regulated, clean-burning boutique blend mandated by the California Air Resources Board to reduce smog and greenhouse gas emissions. Specialized fuel must be refined locally on an energy island because no pipelines connect the state to outside fuel networks. It's just more of the same.
It's not just that. So this is important. So see that California Air Resources Board, CARB, that's the main agency that's driving the cost of everything high when it comes to energy, gas and electric. And actually now your earlier question, what can you do? There's basically 4 reasons the gas prices are the highest in the country. One is the gas tax, which is the highest in the country. That I can't do anything about as governor. That's the legislature. They just increased it. So you got all these Democrats running around saying, affordability, we have to do something about the affordability crisis. They just increased the gas tax in California. So it's so ridiculous. But that's the first thing I can't do anything about directly. All the other things you can. It's partly that, is the regulations on the refinery. But it's also these hidden taxes. Like you've got the low carbon fuels. They all sound good. The low carbon fuel standard, cap and invest. They call it the cap and invest program. That's funding high speed rail. These are basically taxes on gas that the energy industries pay. Then you've got the fact that we're importing all this oil rather than producing it. So instead of producing it in California in the cleanest regulated standards anywhere in the world, right? Which is what we have because we've got all these regulations, and sending it in a nice pipeline just 100 or so miles from near Bakersfield, Kern County, to the refineries in Long Beach and Torrance. We are, what I said earlier, shipping it in, because there's, like that said, there's no pipeline from outside California, bringing it on tankers from the number one in the Middle East is Iraq.
Burning immense amounts of fuel all along the way.
Because they run on bunker fuel, which is the most dirty form of oil. So they are, this is an accurate statement, they are increasing carbon emissions in the name of climate to make it look as if they're climate warriors fighting fossil fuels. It's just
fucking crazy.
Yeah, but it's the ideology. It's not even, it's so funny. I used to sort of talk about their climate policies. It's not even their climate policies. It's climate posturing. It's like they want to look as if they're doing something.
It's a part of the ideology, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a part of the doctrine, the religious doctrine that is the left. You have to say that climate change is real. Science is science. You have to say a bunch of things. Love is love. You have to say a bunch of things.
Yes,
it's
in
like,
this house, it's the thing.
Yeah.
I always said that's literally virtue signaling.
It's
like,
not
it's a sign.
just virtue signaling. It's kind of religious doctrine.
Yeah,
it's
a religious ideology signaling. That's the accurate. It's not such a catchy phrase, but that's what it is.
And it's kind of religious, and like Mark Andreessen's talked about this. It's kind of like a cult. Like if you don't follow it, you are excommunicated.
Yeah.
And
I did a conference the other day in Sacramento where I went up, and there's something about it. It was, the smugness was so. I normally try and be reasonable and just, make my arguments and sort of. There was something about this. It was a kind of climate thing. And things I agree with. It was green energy. I'm all for that. Whatever. Great. Let's have innovation. I'm not against any of that. I am against the windmills. The insane.
Oh, they're insane.
Windmills. Like
totally inefficient.
Yeah.
And then they have to go into landfills. And they only last a certain amount of years. Then you have to take them down and then bury them in the earth where they never degrade.
Exactly. And they catch fire, and it's all, I've seen
They kill birds.
Wait, but have you
whales.
Have you heard the latest though? This is the. It's actually one of my bits to go back to the thing because it's so crazy. Is the new plan for windmills is offshore windmills in California, in two parts: Morro Bay off the Central Coast, Humboldt up in the north, including having them far out because the wind is more. But except also the ocean is deep there. So they're going to have floating windmills. Have you heard this one?
No.
Floating. And these windmills they're like big. They're like 1,000 feet. That's the height of the Eiffel Tower, pretty much. Floating. And one of the proposals is like 10,000. So 10,000 Eiffel Towers floating off the... It's insane. Trump's just stopped it. And now they're suing to reopen it. By the way,
clean energy.
When we have in California today existing natural gas-fired power stations, which could provide more than all our electricity needs today, more than all. It's like something like 300 gigawatt hours a year. We only use about 270, something like that. But they're running these natural gas power stations at like 20% of their capacity to use as backup for the windmills and for the solar farms. If you ran them at full capacity, what we've already got, you don't have to build anything. You could more than meet all our needs. But no, that's too sensible. So we have the floating windmills. And of course we have the highest electric bills in the country, apart from Hawaii. double the national average. And the reason I got cross at this this conference was that they were going, you want to reduce the renewable goals or something. No, I just want common sense. I'm all for it. If it makes sense, if you can make it pay, great. But the people who you're hurting with all of this is regular working people, not kind of elite people at a conference in Sacramento, just working class people who are just being crushed. And I see it every day. And the struggle, literally the number one thing people say to me, it's really striking when in all these, I've really met a lot of people, as I said, hundreds of events, thousands and thousands of people. They say, it's not like, oh, good luck, I hope it's like, you have to win. There's like this intensity. It's really interesting.
Well, because they know it's slipping away, they don't want to move.
And they're so, it's hard.
It's gotten significantly
hard.
worse over the last 10 years, and they don't want to move.
Yeah.
And
it's so difficult. And these fucking, sorry, but people just, and it's not even, it's so casual and cruel the way it's like, yeah, for our ideology, we'll jack up your electric bills and your gas prices, and you just have to suck it up because we want to make ourselves feel like we're leading on climate. That's the other thing. They were yelling at me from this conference. And I said, you tell me what is the impact of any of this on climate change. I said, I'll give you everything you're saying about climate change, okay? I agree. Climate change, we've got to fight climate change. What is this doing to fight climate change? What is the impact on global temperatures of any of this? And nothing, because the answer is zero. It has zero impact on global temperatures, which is the only thing that matters. And then someone shouts out, this is where they always go, oh, we're leading. We have to have a leadership role. We're leading. I said, who's following? No one, because it's crazy. It's hurting people. All these countries are backing off it.
That's the one thing that China has an advantage in, is that their government and their business work like that.
Yeah.
And the business works for the government, and the government
exactly
controls the businesses. It's not a good thing. But the one advantage that they have in there, they don't do anything stupid that's just going to lose money for virtue signaling.
Exactly.
But they open coal-fired plants like crazy.
Exactly, which are, part of the energy that's going into making the solar panels that are shipped across the ocean to make these people feel good. It's true.
It is true. It's wild.
I mean, it's just, wow, I can't believe it.
It's wild, but I mean, this is the problem with a government handling something versus the private sector. If the private sector handled it, it would have to be profitable. It would have to make sense.
And they keep saying solar's really cheap. I said, great, so why do we have the highest electric bills in the country apart from Hawaii, if it's all so great? I'm not against it. If you want to have a solar panel, a battery, that's great. I'm not against any of this. But don't force it in a way that just raises the cost for regular working people.
Well, California just loves to regulate. They love it. It's part of the big government.
Have you seen
the tires?
The tires.
Yes.
Oh, you've seen
this?
Yeah,
I saw it. I was going to bring that up. Yeah. So, what is the
tire?
Let's pull it up, Jamie. The new California regulations on tires, restricting the kind of tires that you can buy.
I mean, it's just they keep coming.
They can't help themselves.
They can't. That's exactly
they need to justify all these jobs. There's so much government.
But I just want to give you this is a good example, which is all of these things.
California regulators approved new rules limiting what replacement tires you can buy for your car. So what is the rationale behind this? Approved new rules that will restrict which tires you can buy when it's time to replace them. Unanimous vote. California Energy Commission voted to adopt new rules that will phase out the sale of replacement tires that don't meet certain energy efficiency standards. Ultimately about protecting consumers. I see this as a sheltering the public from higher costs in the long term. Long run. Tire manufacturers and the commission staff are at odds over whether this will add to the cost of living in the state. It will. Both sides acknowledge this will no longer allow the sale of significant portion of the tires currently sold in California.
By the way, that's 70%. The report.
So the center of this is a tire's rolling resistance, or how much energy a tire uses as it rolls down the road. Lower resistance means a vehicle uses less gas or electricity. New cars come with energy-efficient tires, but consumers typically replace those with higher rolling resistance tires. I wonder if that has anything to do with performance cars. So I would imagine rolling resistance. So rolling resistance, what would that mean? Does that mean friction?
Yes, basically friction.
Okay, so friction is traction. So you want more traction. So you're basically making people buy performance tires?
No, the other way around. You
Really?
can't. Yeah, the other way around.
So traction is less resistance. It's more resistance. Maximum resistance is traction.
But
if they allow the sale of tires with a maximum rolling resistance of 9.1 newtons per kiloton, it lowers it to 7.2 starting in 2033. So yeah, it's making it less traction. That's what it's saying, right? Rolling resistance. I'm not sure what it says.
What they want is these
energy efficient. Ensure replacement tires sold in California are at least as energy efficient on average as the tires that come with the truck. So my perception is that a tire with more traction would be more efficient.
No, for driving, yeah, but not for climate.
Yeah, but when you go into the store to buy them, most people are going to buy the cheapest thing available. They're not going to
right, and the cheapest thing available would have less traction, correct?
It'd just be the cheapest thing available.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing about the cars, like performance tires, they don't last as long because there's a softer rubber, and the softer rubber grips better. And so, like, if you buy,
that's what they want to get rid of.
That's what they want to get rid of.
Yeah, but
those are the ones that have more traction. That's what I'm confused about. That would seem to be more energy efficient in terms of the use of the car.
Well, that's what they're arguing it's for. But you're going to end up with these little tires that don't. I mean, all the people that want to go off road or whatever, that's what you can't.
You can't buy off road tires anymore?
70% of the tires are going to be banned that are currently sold. 70%. That was one of the reporters at KCRA, Ashley Zavala. She's really on all these stories, very aggressive. She's really exposing a lot of this nonsense. And that was, I think, her number, 70%.
Wouldn't they just make new off-road tires then?
Yeah, but they wouldn't be as good.
How often are you driving off-road in LA?
Well, I'm not, but some people are.
I just
There's a bunch of people who love driving off-road. And they love having
are we
vehicles.
doing this when we have
off-road store?
The state
Hold on, why he's talking?
Is over. You've got homeless everywhere. The highest taxes in the country. Businesses are leaving every single day. It's a real economic emergency. We have the highest unemployment rate in the country. We have the highest poverty rate in the country, the highest cost of living. And this is what the government's focused on. I mean, we've got to wake up, right? This is insane that they're focused on this. They're churning out absolute nonsense. The regulations, the bureaucracy, this is totally unaccountable. This is some bureaucrat that's discovered a rule. Nancy Skinner, who from Berkeley, used to represent Berkeley, just found this thing in some obscure, place that no one had noticed for 20 years. Suddenly, this bureaucratic agency decides to bring in this rule. No input from the voters.
But here's my question: what is this impact going to have on, like, the car market? Like, if you sell a car that has a particular type of performance tire that no longer fits
I don't know what.
Could we ask Perplexity, is this referring to tires with more traction or less traction?
The energy.california.gov second sentence says, unfortunately, replacement tires are often less efficient. That's why your mileage drops the first time you replace your tires, and the efficiency gap between new car tires and replacement tires means California drivers are paying nearly $1 billion in additional fuel costs, which is...
So are these inefficient tires less expensive? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think
Makes sense, right? Yes. So the more expensive tires are more efficient, which means they would have better traction? Is that what it is? That makes sense, right? Because if the tire has less traction, that means it slips more. If it slips more, it's not as efficient, and you wouldn't get as good a gas mileage.
But they're doing this for climate. That's what they're saying. We need to lower emissions. That's what it's all about, because of the use of the gas.
The 70% thing is crazy.
So
if you have let's say if you buy like a Chevy truck that's an off-road truck, right? Those are not efficient tires. So what are you going to be able to get for them now?
I don't know. I mean, it's just come out, so everyone's looking into this, and you just think.
And there's no recourse?
No, they've just. Well, there will be when I'm there, because I'm going to get rid of these people, because this is going back to the question earlier. Let's have a look.
Okay, benefits of the proposed regulation. Consumer savings. Proposed regulation would save nearly $1 billion per year in gasoline and electricity costs. Right. Air quality. By reducing fuel consumed, the proposed regulation would reduce CO2 emissions by 2.0 million metric tons per year, which is the equivalent of taking 400,000 gasoline cars off California roads. It would also reduce other criteria air pollutants such as nitric oxide and particulate matter. Reduced energy demand. The proposed regulation would reduce California demand for gasoline by 141 million gallons. Also reduce demand for electricity by 0.9 terawatts per hour each year. Okay, the following tires are excluded from the proposed regulation minimum performance standards. Competition tires used for motorsports, winter-type snow tires, all-season winter performance tires, used and retreaded tires, deep-tread tires, tires designed for ATVs or other off-road vehicles, large off-road tires for use up to 99 miles an hour, motorcycle tires, temporary spare tires, small tires with 13-inch nominal rim diameter, proposed limited production tires, tires sold for use on an emergency vehicle, high-load index tires, tires not capable of sustaining speeds over 50 miles per hour, and space saver tires. So it seems like there's a lot of caveats.
No, this is...
But look at that, like that list again.
Nobody believes that this is about saving money.
No, it
Nobody.
seems like they're just
This is
wanting...
entirely their ideology for climate. This is some bullshit calculation.
Is there a world where that makes sense, though, where they're right and it will reduce all that gasoline and it actually will be better for everybody? And you'll force people to make better tires? And, you know, they're churning out low-quality tires, and this could be mitigated a long time ago?
Well, I don't know. I think that the reaction to it is exactly the opposite, which is here they come again.
Here they come again is real. I mean,
yet another thing. As I said, it's just been announced, so we got to dig into it. But I mean, it's just, to me, such a kind of crazy example of them endlessly micromanaging everything.
Yeah, the market should decide.
We've got these big problems.
California's new tire rule could wipe out 70% of what's on the shelf, and Sacramento sat on the law for 23 years. So Sacramento did invent a new law on Monday. It finally read one it wrote in 2003. Okay.
I mean, it's just infuriating to me.
They love to tell you what to do. That's part of what California is.
So they did. So we did a thing last year. Remember, this is the point about there's no checks. No one's stopping anything.
Right.
In the last legislative session last year, not even the whole year, just a few months, they passed 1,118 bills. We counted them. We printed them out. It was double my height. Obviously, no one can read them. Newsom signs most of them, like the vast majority. He hasn't read them. It has stuff like this in it, and no one's paying attention. And the corrupt system, the interest groups that want what they want from the system, they get these bills written, and then they get passed. And then here you are 23 years later, something that's in some obscure law. That's how it all works. And the answer to the question, like, what could you do about it, is basically captured in these two things. Like, number one, all these agencies that are pushing out these rules, it's the executive branch. So as the governor, you control the executive branch. You can fire the people on these boards, and you can replace them with people with some common sense. And you can actually merge them, you can reorganize them, you could cut them back. There's a whole bunch of things you could do on the bureaucracy, because so much of this is coming out of the bureaucracy. Secondly, you can veto the legislation. And the point is always made, if they have a 2/3 majority, they can overturn a veto. That's correct. But the last time they overturned a veto from the governor was 1979. So they don't like doing it, because suddenly they have to justify all this shit that goes through without any scrutiny. If you veto it, they can, if they want to overturn it, suddenly they have to make the argument. And so much of what you get in California just goes through without anyone noticing. That's the real corruption in the system.
Oy.
And so the other thing I'd say is that you also write the budget. The governor writes the budget and sends it to the legislature. And then you have to negotiate. But again, if you take out all this waste and, we just announced last week, Operation Zero Waste, cancel funding for high-speed rail, cancel free healthcare for illegal immigrants, all these things that we said we'd do.
How much has been spent on that high-speed rail?
So far, total $15 billion.
Oh, that's a bargain.
So the total
They've gotten a lot done, though, right?
Okay, so that was, so it was 2008. It was supposed to be $30 billion, the total budget, and it was supposed to be open in 2020, and it was 2.5 hours from San Francisco to LA. So the latest is it's going to be open maybe, if you're lucky, by the end of 2030s. It's going to be the new budget from $30 billion is now $230 billion, right? The plan, as they laughably call it, is the first bit is San Francisco to Merced at the top of the Central Valley on the regular train line that's already there. And then Merced to Bakersfield is the high-speed rail. And then Bakersfield to LA, a bus. Have you heard that?
That's real?
It's real. That drive from Bakersfield to LA, which I've done a lot, is through the great...
It's already congested as fuck.
Right. That can take 2.5 hours if you're unlucky. So this is what it's... And it's so crazy.
$230 billion for that?
$230 billion. And then Becerra, my opponent, he went to Fresno the other week. He announced that he would finish it on time and on budget. On time was 6 years ago. On budget, they've spent
was $120 million dollars ago.
Okay, the budget was 30. They've spent 15, and they've not laid any tracks at all. Gavin, it's classic Gavin. It's almost my favorite. He did an event because obviously he's running for president. He doesn't. This is embarrassing. He wants to sort of shape the narrative. So he did this press conference somewhere there with trains in the background to make it look like this is a real thing. And they haven't laid any track. And there's no plans to lay any track. But he was standing by tracks to sort of, I think, make people think there's tracks. And the phrase that he used was to announce that we are now entering the track laying phase. That could be another 10 years. It's so ridiculous.
And then you're going to have to get a bus.
And the bus, it's real. That is the plan. And then...
So why is that? Because just logistics? They can't get the train through the mountains?
Yeah.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a bus?
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know what the long-term plan... I can't believe that's the whole idea. I think that's just what's going to be available.
It says it's just like the most tunneling has to happen on that part, so maybe they're just waiting.
I think it's it's not the eventual
So
plan.
they'll dig some more tunnels?
It says it would require the most tunneling of the mountain crossings with 4 separate tunnels totaling 28 miles in length.
How much of the
and
nature?
They have to go across the San Andreas Fault, which is the biggest problem.
Oh, even better. They're going to cause an earthquake. How much of nature is going to get destroyed in the production of that?
But who even wants this? I mean,
tunneling through mountains.
The other thing is, so I spoke to someone who works with Elon. Well, you can check with Elon. So he said that you could do the boring company, like you do a tunnel, the whole thing for $5 billion. Now I don't know if that's true, but this is such a monument to the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Take the money, waste it, spend it on nothing, endlessly delay.
How come Gavin's not running again?
He can't.
He can't.
He's
he
out.
did.
Yeah. 2 terms.
2 terms.
Yeah. It's so crazy, and you've got this pretend. This is what's really. There was just a video that someone found of him talking in 2015 when he was lieutenant governor about what a joke the whole thing was.
Yeah.
Speaking very honestly about it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny and ridiculous. Oh, look at that. He says that then. Now he says, but it's actually infuriating because they're still taking the money to pay for it. They're still pretending. And they're taking money out of people. The funding, like I said, comes from this thing called cap and invest, which is the gas tax. It's just insane.
Steve, I hope you win. We got to wrap this up and bring it home, but I hope you win. It would be funny.
Yeah,
it would be hilarious if you win.
Great. What job do you want, Joe?
I don't want a job.
We'll have you do
I
something.
I don't even like going back to
Health.
California.
Well, okay. The only reason I'm doing it is that you've moved back.
I'm never gonna move back.
I know it's too good here. I know,
I
it's
love
fun.
it here. I love it here.
I can see that.
I really hope you win.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I think you have a chance. I really do. I mean, you make a lot of sense, and that's a lot in this day and age. It's a lot. You're also actually a good guy. Like, I know you. You're an actual good guy. You're not like some weird lizard person. You know what I mean? Like, there's some fake
Yes, I do.
people.
I've met a lot in Sacramento. It's
You are
true.
who you are. You are really you. I can attest to that. I know you. Like, I've known you before you had any political aspirations. You're the exact same person. There's a lot of these people that are just skin suits. They're skin suits over lizards. There's lizards in there. Whether
Yes.
metaphorically or physically,
Yes.
they're fucking lizard people. And that's a real thing.
All
So
right.
I hope you win.
You can come to my inauguration.
I will.
Just
I'll
that.
come.
Just that. Commit to that.
Yeah, I'll come.
Very
If you
good.
win, I'll come. All right.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.